request that we do a puli before we get started tonight. I was always taught that puli was a form of alignment. Yeah. These islands have always celebrated a diversity of culture and points of view and perspective and opinions. Yeah. So we want to really come and open our hearts up to let that momentum of that celebration of our diversity carry through tonight. But beneath that, we want to have a base of unity that really opens our hearts and recognizes that we're all in this together and facing challenging times, and the importance of wayfinders and navigators and steers people. And so we start the alignment with gratitude for those that have gone before us, our families, teachers, and our guides, and the opportunity to have a voice and a say and a choice. So, puli kako. Mahalo ke akua na auma kua, mahalo kini akua, mahalo nunui na kupuna. In open hearts and quiet minds, we approach to unify ourselves in spirit and thought and family. With respect to everyone's paths and faiths, we offer up a simple time of silence to really feel this unity and to feel the presence of our teachers and guides and our families and the very best wisdom that they offered to be in our hearts and souls and in our minds. As our hearts are calmed by the presence of Akua's love and an embodiment of aloha, we offer up this time of preparation and this puli of gratitude in the light of spirit. Amen. Okay, mahalo.
Okay, mahalo to Kelvin Ho. Right. Aloha, everybody. Welcome to the Kauai Candidates Forum. My name is Patricia Wistinghausen, and I'm with the Kauai Young Democrats and Kauai Women's Caucus.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Leilani Spencer with the American Association of University Women, the AAUW, and Patricia and I will be your moderators for this evening's forum. In addition to the AAUW, Young Democrats and Women's Caucus, this event has been coordinated and sponsored in partnership with the Surfrider Foundation, Apollo Kauai, and Zero Waste Kauai.
Within the past couple of months, members from our 6 community groups connected and came together to present this candidates forum to you today, the theme of which is Because It Matters, who we elect as prosecutor to the County Council and our Hawaii State Legislature. This year's elections and every election should matter to everyone within our community, because the people entrusted to lead our government have the great responsibility, or kuleana, to advocate on behalf of the interests and the needs of the people they represent, and not on behalf of corporations or big banks.
This forum is meant to provide an educational opportunity for the community and for the candidates themselves to learn about one another. It is meant to bring candidates forth who are willing to put themselves in the spotlight, to be asked engaging questions, and for us, their constituents, to hear from them in their own words where they stand on the issues and why they want to serve in public office.
As a note to all of those joining us here in person, this event is being filmed for later viewing on Ho'ike, our Kauai community television station, and it's also being broadcast live on KKCR, our Kauai community radio station, 91.9 FM. Additionally, the forum is being live streamed on facebook.com/Kauai Young Democrats and via Periscope, also from our Kauai Young Democrats page.
Mahalo to everyone joining us here in person. And for those listening on the radio, our event is taking place at the Chiefus Kamakahele Middle School Cafeteria in Puhi here on Kauai. Our program is set to run from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. tonight, and we'll begin with our 2 prosecuting attorney candidates, followed by 7 of 9 state legislative candidates, and then 10 of the 13 county council candidates.
All candidates running for office within our county, partisan and nonpartisan, were invited to participate in this forum. Some had previous engagements and could not participate. A few others never responded to repeated requests to attend. Reasons for those not in attendance are laid out and noted within our program. So before we begin, we'll go over some basic housekeeping rules. If you haven't done so already, please ensure that your phones are on vibrate or silence. For those present, the restroom is located out these doors here to, I guess this is our stage right, so your left, right around the wall. So around the corner, and make sure you don't close the door, otherwise no one else can use the bathroom. I mean, after you're done, make sure the door is still open. And parking again, don't park by the, which area is it, by the office? It's okay, so it's already locked, so hopefully you're not already parked in there. And there is a food truck right outside at the curb if you get hungry. It is at your own cost, but we definitely welcome you to go ahead and use that throughout because it's such a long event.
Please note that because we have such a rigorous schedule tonight, we will not be taking any questions from the audience, but we have provided contact information for each candidate participating, and we encourage you to reach out to them individually to get your questions answered, to donate, or to volunteer with their campaigns.
The questions that the candidates will be asked tonight were thoughtfully developed, discussed, revised, and then voted on by the group sponsoring this event. Majority of the questions, topics, and even subcategories were provided to the candidates in advance of this forum so they could have time to prepare and present their platform. And if we can briefly bring everybody's attention to our timers, Melissa and Wiley Barker here at the front of the room. They will be using, thank you so much, they will be using clearly marked signs signaling for our candidates their remaining time to speak. And with the sound of the bell, you want to ring the bell? Ding. So when you hear that sound, that'll let the candidate know that their time has run out. And finally, a short biography of each candidate will be read to introduce you to who's on stage. These bios were provided by the candidates and their campaigns. And this is also, one more very important note, a zero waste event. All bins are outside by the food truck, so please sort them carefully.
Beginning our forum, we have 2 of our candidates for prosecuting attorney, Justin Kohler and Lisa Aaron.
So Lisa Aaron has been a practicing criminal trial attorney for over 20 years and has dedicated her legal career here on Kauai to protecting victims and helping our children. Lisa is endorsed by SHOPO, the State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers, and is also endorsed by the United Public Workers Union, or UPW. Lisa is the president of the Kauai Children's Justice Committee, a director of Na Puale Oka Honua, and is a member of the Zonta Club of Kauai. Go to votelisaaaron.com for more info.
And Justin Kohler, I'm pronouncing that correctly, yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay. Is running for re-election as prosecuting attorney. He has served the people of Hawaii for 10 years as a law clerk, a deputy prosecutor, a deputy county attorney, and since 2012 as Kauai's lead prosecutor. He lives in Wailua with his wife Sierra and their son Owen, and go to justinkohler.org for more information.
So the candidates for prosecutor will be given the same 5 questions with 2 minutes each to respond to each question and a final 2 minutes to wrap up or rebut a response by their opponent. And so candidate Aaron, we're going to start with you with the first question here. Let's see. And then candidate Kohler, you'll have a chance to respond to the same question right after. Okay, so the first question for our prosecutor candidates is Kauai experiencing high incarceration rates? If so, what are responsible responses or alternatives?
Thank you, Patricia.
I don't believe that Kauai is experiencing any higher incarceration rates than elsewhere, but that being said, our population has increased and our jail has remained the same size. So the jail is pretty full on a daily basis. So the responsible responses to that is to make sure we first are prioritizing who we place in jail. And to me, it's just common sense that doesn't always seem to be followed, but that to keep our community safe, it's most important that we incarcerate the most serious, violent, and repeat offenders. And if that means that certain other individuals that may be deserving of incarceration don't get incarceration, say for victimless crimes or for contempt of court or something that's more of a nuisance or an annoyance, that's where the alternative should lie. I think that we have a segment of our population that has difficulty maintaining their driver's license. They have difficulty with transportation and getting to court, and those are the people that we should be looking at different alternatives to help solve the problem in a more meaningful way than jail, so that our limited jail space can be used for those people, those individuals that are making our community unsafe. There's also other alternatives to jail within the criminal justice system that can be appropriate for certain offenses and offenders, and that would be things like community service and making restitution, things of that nature. But any way you cut it, because of our growing population, it's going to cost more money, whether that be build more rehabilitation and treatment centers. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Aaron. Candidate Kohler, the same question. Is Kauai experiencing high incarceration rates? If so, what are responsible responses or alternatives?
Aloha, good evening. Thank you everyone for making this forum happen tonight. I really appreciate it. Kauai's incarceration rates are consistent with Hawaii's overall incarceration rates, which are elevated, however, as our incarceration rates throughout our country. With regards to certain demographic groups, however, the rates of incarceration are troubling, and it is clear that Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander populations are incarcerated at rates that are 4 times those of whites or Hispanics and 60% higher than the black population, according to 2010 census data. Now, we also know that in 2014, the state of Hawaii recorded record low robbery, burglary, and arson rates. We also know, according to the same data, that Kauai in 2014 experienced a record low total index crime rate, a record low property crime rate, and a record low larceny theft rate, according to the Uniform Crime Reporting data maintained by the Department of the Attorney General. Indeed, with respect to crime rates on Kauai, they increased steadily from 2005 to 2012 and then began to decrease fairly dramatically, with the property crime index notably decreasing from 532 in 2012 to 310 in 2014. That tells us that some of what we are doing is working, and yet our jail facilities are bursting at the seams. KCCC designed to hold about 125 inmates on any given day, holding close to 200 inmates. So we see incarceration rates remaining high even as overall crime rates ease their way down. Now, some of this is undoubtedly true to the fact that years ago a smaller percentage of arrests were successfully prosecuted, and now we tend to get better results. However, it does cost us up to upwards of $50,000 a year to house somebody at KCCC, $200,000 a year to house a child at the HYCF on Oahu, and about $28,000 a year to house an inmate on the mainland. So my administration has proudly supported alternative programs like the drug court, mental health court, jail diversion program, girls court, veterans court, the environmental court, Hope probation, and of course team court. We will continue to support those programs in my second term. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So again, Candidate Kohler, what responsibility does Hawaii have to its prisoners who are sent to the mainland for incarceration? We'll start with you.
When we send an inmate to the mainland through a contract the state has with the Corrections Corporation of America, it saves the taxpayers money, but what it does is it has the impact of separating families, and so it's problematic from a perspective of trying to rehabilitate these inmates and get them back to participating in the community once they're able to be released. I know that a couple of administrative agencies have been working to reduce Hawaii's use of mainland facilities, but until facilities are upgraded and streamlined here in Hawaii, it seems that that practice is going to continue. So our obligation is absolutely to make sure that when we're putting somebody in prison for an extended period of time, because it is the long-term inmates that get shipped to the mainland, we need to make sure we're putting that person in prison for the right reason, we're doing it to the right person at the right time, because the problems Hawaii faces are problems that we cannot just incarcerate our way out of.
Thank you.
Okay. If you take a look at who is actually being sent to Arizona, it is those offenders that have 10 or 20-year prison sentences are not amenable to the rehabilitative programs that are provided here either on Kauai, such as the work furlough program, or at Halava, which are other forms of rehabilitative programs. So ultimately, the people that are being housed in Halava are appropriately placed there. Yes, we do owe an obligation to the entire state to do better and work harder to have facilities here in Hawaii to house all of our inmates, because it's obvious and also statistically known that inmates will do better when they get out if they are still connected to their families and their communities, and that should happen. But I can tell you the inmates that are currently being sent there are serious violent offenders, and before they are released, they are generally brought to Halava or KCCC to participate in the rehabilitative programs and the furlough program with their family that remains.
All right, thanks so much both for your responses. So your third question here is how is justice served by extensive plea bargaining? And so Lisa, if you'd like to start.
Okay, there. There is currently extensive plea bargaining going on on Kauai, and the problem with that is if it doesn't adequately address the nature of the offender's conduct or their criminal history, then it's inappropriate and ineffective, and that case shouldn't have been resolved in that manner. Additionally, well, I guess I can back up and say plea bargaining is part of the process. There are too many criminal cases to take every case to trial, but that doesn't mean none or very little of the cases should be going to trial if we're not getting effective resolutions. Plea bargains and sentences for criminal offenders are supposed to be designed to not only address the offender and their conduct and their criminal history, but to keep the community safe and to be meaningful to the defendant, so it really assists that offender to rehabilitate. It also will send a message to the community as to what type of conduct is either accepted or tolerated and what isn't, and can serve as a deterrent effect for others who are considering committing crimes or going down the wrong path. So the other thing, as I was headed towards, if you have extensive plea bargaining that isn't properly addressing the safety of the community and the needs of the offender, you also are in a situation where you have a prosecutor's office filled with deputies with little to no jury trial experience. And that exacerbates the problem, because then the defense attorneys have the bargaining power with criminal defendants, and it doesn't serve the purposes of justice, it doesn't serve community safety, and it doesn't serve the offender well to get the necessary rehabilitation that they need.
Thank you. Thank you.
Plea bargaining is a fact of life on Kauai, throughout Hawaii, and for every prosecutor's office in the United States. Plea agreements allow for negotiated and balanced outcomes in the vast majority of criminal cases in our country. They are essential to the orderly functioning of our criminal justice system, And any prosecutor who says that they won't or don't plea bargain is simply engaging in a rhetorical exercise, to put it that way. When my opponent was a deputy prosecutor, she plea bargained cases or dismissed cases, and in many situations that was the appropriate resolution to the case. There are any number of reasons to plea bargain or not in a case, but mostly what it comes down to is what can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury of 12 people. When police make an arrest, they make an arrest based on probable cause that the offense occurred. And however, our ethical duty as prosecutors is to charge cases that can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a very different standard. Many times after an arrest happens, subsequent facts or information comes to light that refocuses the details of the case, and it's a different charge that's the appropriate charge. So the attorneys involved get together with the judge and talk to the victim and try to negotiate an outcome that addresses all of those various factors. Now, clearly, some cases do have to go to trial. Usually in those cases, the accused will not accept an appropriate consequence or responsibility for their crime. So we go to trial, and our staff's never been afraid or hesitant to do that. In fact, in the last year, we've won a number of significant child sex assault trial verdicts, and I credit our first deputy prosecuting attorney, Jennifer Wynn, who is a brilliant trial attorney, for mentoring the strong team of dedicated and hardworking attorneys we now have, which has nearly 200 years of experience and is the strongest team by far that the office has ever seen. So plea bargaining isn't going to go away, but when it's used right, it's a powerful tool for achieving justice in an efficient and effective fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll continue with candidate Kohler. Should the Hawaii juvenile system be revised? Why and how?
Thank you for that question. Hawaii actually takes a fairly progressive approach to juvenile justice, and I am a strong supporter of that progressive approach. Hawaii is a participating site for the Annie E. Casey Foundation's Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative, which is basically, it's a nationwide program that looks for ways to eliminate inappropriate and unnecessary juvenile detention. As I mentioned earlier, it costs about $200,000 a year to house a juvenile at the facility on Oahu. And over the years, what we've learned is that putting kids in that facility doesn't really do anything to keep the community safe. And in fact, what it does is it teaches these kids how to become better criminals. So in the past several years, in the past number of years, Hawaii has dramatically reduced the number of children being put into the secure detention facility on Oahu. And on Kauai last year, we only had to send 2 of our children into the jail. So on Kauai, we do emphasize the need for swift intervention in cases where juveniles are committing offenses so that we can rapidly identify the services or types of supervision that they may need and make sure they get it. When your kids misbehave at home, we don't say, oh, we'll deal with this in 120 days, right? You deal with it immediately. So that's the focus of the system. My juvenile court deputy spent 6 years as a special needs elementary school teacher, and she really gets it. She understands the importance of working hard to help these kids get their lives straightened out. And we also have a very caring and hardworking family court judge on Kauai who gets it. And finally, we are strong supporters of the Kauai Teen Court program, and we've contracted with Hale Opio to run that program for many years now. Teen Court is a program that allows for first-time teen offenders to go through a process where they're adjudicated by a group of their peers who then work to come up with a resolution that has a restorative effect for both the offender and the victim. It's a healthy way to teach kids how to resolve disputes and to respect one another. So I'm proud that Kauai is on the forefront when it comes to juvenile justice, and my administration will continue supporting evidence-based, progressive approaches to juvenile justice moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, candidates. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And now your turn to respond, candidate Aaron.
Yes. The question was, should Hawaii's juvenile system be revised? And it actually is being revised. There's been a new law which has resulted in less children being incarcerated at HYCF, and the children that are actually housed at HYCF have exhausted all rehabilitative means through the system, and it's the only choice left for community safety is to keep them there. So while there's less kids being sent to HYCF, they're actually spending a longer time there. But that's after a lot of time, energy, and intervention has occurred. The part that really needs to be worked on, especially on the outer islands like Kauai, is having additional services in place for kids with drug addiction. It's really important that we have an adolescent treatment and healing center here on island, because there's many, many different ways that kids need assistance to rehabilitating from drug addiction. Sometimes in the home and outpatient is appropriate, but sometimes home is the problem and they need a safe place to address their issues and get the support that they need. So we really need to do a better job providing additional services, because that's what's lacking. We do have some good programs here. We have girls court, we have teen court, we have youth drug court, but there's still a lot more services that are needed. Additionally, access to pro-social activities for kids who can't afford sports, the arts, music, things that give kids that sense of having a strong and bright future that they may not have access to, adult mentors. There's a lot of things we could do better to help children in the system.
Okay, thanks so much. So your final question for both of you, Lisa, you can respond first, and then candidate Justin Kohler. So why were or weren't you endorsed by SHOPO, the State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers? Candidate Aaron?
Thank you, Patricia. I was honored to be endorsed by the State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers. The Kauai board voted unanimously to endorse my candidacy, and that is because I've worked here on Kauai in the prosecutor's office for 6 years and developed strong working relationships with the officers, administration, and it goes beyond that. They recognize the work that I did with victims and assisting children's sex assault victims, domestic violence victims, having the confidence that it takes to get to court and be able to say the truth about what has happened to them on very, very difficult and challenging topics. I have strong working relationships with treatment providers and other partner agencies, and the bottom line is I have over 20 years of criminal trial experience. I have the willingness and the ability to go to trial on cases that need to go to trial. I have the decision-making ability to be able to decide what is an appropriate offer that will address the offender and the offense, that I'm willing to sit down and talk with the police officers, victims, partner agencies about helping them, about issues that come up, that even when we don't agree, that I'm willing to sit down and tell them why I'm not going to prosecute a particular case that they feel strongly about. And I'm willing to hear them out face to face and get their perspective on the case and the issues. And I'm willing to give them the respect to tell them what I'm thinking so they can understand why we have a difference of an opinion and why I'm making the decision, and that it's based on reasoning and respect and knowing all the information that's available to make a good decision.
Thanks so much, Candidate Aaron. Candidate Kohler?
Thank you for asking that question, because it does come up from time to time. The SHOPO chapter chair for Kauai, who is a person I do like and have a lot of respect for, came to my office one day last year and told me that SHOPO was declining to endorse me because I made the decision to prosecute a police officer who allegedly struck and killed a young man named Michael Coker down in Kamakani last year. He told me to my face that that's what it boiled down to. He told me that because of that situation, there were police who were just not comfortable with me. I'll also note that in 2012, during my first campaign, SHOPO again did support my opponent and campaigned very hard against me in that election. So I understand that unions make decisions based on political considerations, and I do my best to separate the actions of the unions from those of its members. I am very proud to work alongside the women and men of the Kauai Police Department, as I have been for the last 8.5 years. They know that if they call me in the middle of the night, I will answer my phone and do my best to help them, and I will continue to do so no matter what their union says. I'm approached on a daily basis by police officers who remind me that the union does not speak for all cops. So I'm approached by members of the community as well on a daily basis who appreciate that I do have the guts to make the difficult decisions, and that when I see trouble, I don't just put my head down and try to ignore it, but that I keep my head up and I keep moving forward. That's what the community elected me to do. I believe this community rightfully supports and believes in its law enforcement system, but I believe the community wants and deserves a criminal justice system that does hold everyone accountable equally, even if that person does, unfortunately, happen to wear a badge to work. I also think our community wants and deserves a prosecutor's office that works well with police but also has some independence. I'm proud to have a track record of supporting our working women and men in this community, and that's why Hawaii's largest union, the Hawaii Government Employees Association, does endorse my campaign, as well as ILWU. Mahalo.
Great. Thank you so much, Candidate Kohler.
Thank you, candidates. It's now time for your closing remarks, and you have 2 minutes. We'll start with Candidate Kohler. 2 minutes. Oh, back.
I first want to thank again the Young Democrats, the Women's Caucus, Apollo Kauai, and Surfrider for putting this forum together. It means a lot to me to be able to come out and speak to the community like this, face to face. I also want to thank and acknowledge my wife and son who are in the back of the room supporting me. I'm very grateful for their support, and I couldn't do it without them. And I also want to wish a happy birthday to Janice Bond over there in the back of the room. Again, I have devoted my career to serving the people of Hawaii, and I have been very proud to do so. I consider myself very fortunate and blessed to have the opportunity to work for this community. I'm approaching my 10-year service anniversary next month, and I never imagined I would get to have the chance to serve this community the way that I have. But I'm very grateful for it, and it humbles me every day because I learn new things from the people that I work with every single day, and I'm grateful for the community's support. I'm grateful for the support of law enforcement. I'm grateful for the support of everyone here. And again, my name is Justin Kohler. I'm running for re-election. I'm asking for your vote. You can check us out on the web, justinkohler.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Vimeo. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We are all around the place. So I'm looking forward to speaking with any of you tonight. I'll be around for a while. So again, thank you for your kind attention. Have a wonderful evening. Mahalo and aloha.
Thank you so much, Candidate Kohler. Candidate Aaron, closing remarks?
Thank you.
Well, our next group of candidates.
She gets to
It's
talk.
okay.
So sorry.
We're just so
How am
anxious
I?
for this forum, so.
I know you have a big slate ahead of you. You need to get a jump on that. Yes. So, thank you, everyone who participated in putting this forum on. I appreciate the opportunity to answer your questions and speak before you. I have a website, votelisaaaron.com. We also have a Friends of Lisa Aaron Facebook page where you can get more information. You can email me at votelisaaaron@gmail.com. I am happy to sit down with anyone and answer any of your questions anytime, whether it's one person or 50 people. I'm willing to talk about the issues that are facing our criminal justice system. And I can tell you, I am running because I want to build a strong, stable, and effective prosecutor's office. Unfortunately, the prosecutor's office is not stable currently. They have had a 100% turnover rate of deputies. And the problem with that is you don't have deputies who know the community, know your law enforcement officers, know the places, and Kauai is such a small place, and without having a feel for what is important to the community, not knowing who the offenders are, not knowing who the people's lives that are affected by the crimes that are being committed here, it's impossible for justice to be achieved. Prosecutors, deputy prosecutors will stay if they have a feeling of success and commitment to our community, and that takes a prosecutor like me that's willing to lead by example, to be present in the office on a daily basis, to be present in the court, assisting the newer attorneys with their development of their skills as attorneys and supporting them. Being a trial attorney, being a courtroom attorney is hard. And if you don't have that person with the experience to have your back, you are left hanging out there on your own. And by the turnover rates that we've seen, that's what's been happening, and that's not good for our community safety. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Great. Okay, so mahalo to both candidates for being here today. If I have to sit. Okay, we're getting ready to get started again. If everyone can take your seats. And I was just going to mention my grandpa, Larry Rivera. He was over there talking with Felicia. And oh, there, my grandpa and grandma are in the back. Sorry, got to do shout out, Larry and Gloria. And he said he's very proud of me, which is awesome. And that I told him, I said, look, I've been in the paper more than you lately. So, okay, one quick announcement. This is for the Democratic Party of Kauai. We are having our Unity Rally. It's on Monday, August 15th at the War Memorial Convention Hall from 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. Suggested donations $10, so just putting it out there if you're interested. Our chair, Stephen Nishimura, is sitting quietly over here in the corner, but you can always come and find him if you have some questions. All right, is everybody all set to go? Think so? All right.
Okay. For this next segment of our program, we have 7 of our 9 state legislative candidates joining us on stage.
So we are expecting 7, but we're going to go ahead and get started with the introductions. So running for our Senate District 8 seats to represent Kauai and Ni'ihau, we have Kanoia Huna and incumbent Ron Kochi. So Kanoia Huna comes from the Pana family here on Kauai. She has her PhD and is a leader and advocate for Hawaii's families, having worked in public service, in education, healthcare, and cultural preservation for the last 17 plus years. Kanoia is also a proud mother of 3 boys and a loving wife to her husband, Dan Ahuna.
Ron Kochi has served Kauai as a member of the state Senate for the past 6 years. He's currently honored with being the state president of the Senate. Working with his fellow legislators, this year Kauai will receive $114 million to invest in our schools, roads, highways, bridges, affordable housing, social services, and more.
So welcome to our Senate candidates. Running for House District 14, we have all 3 candidates present. Nadine Nakamura served as County of Kauai's Managing Director and council member. She ran a planning consulting practice for over 20 years. She is a wife and mother of 2 children. Over the years, she's been a soccer mom, theater mom, PTSA mom, and Girl Scout cookie mom.
Fern Rosensteel is born and raised in District 14. Fern graduated from Kapa'a High School before attending universities in Australia, where she obtained a Bachelor's of Science with 3 majors in environmental sciences. Fern worked professionally as an environmental scientist before moving home in 2012 and actively involving herself in the community and the future of Kauai.
So Dr. Sandra Combs is a wife, mother, grandmother, and business owner living in Kapa'a Town. She holds a PhD and has been working in education for over 35 years. Concern for the state of government and education in Hawaii has prompted her to run for the State House of Representatives. So welcome to our District 14 candidates. All right.
Running for House District 15 is Tommy Oi, and incumbent James Tokioka was unavailable to attend this event. Tommy Oi moved to Kauai with his family in 1970. He has 25 years of experience in government, Department of Transportation, Highways Division, Department of Natural Resources, Land Division, Legislative Aid for Representative D. Morikawa, Kauai member on the Board of Land and Natural Resources, and is the present owner of Tommy Oi Land Surveyor, LLC in Lihue.
Running for House District 16 is incumbent D. Morikawa. Candidate Victoria Franks was unavailable to attend this event. Prior to being elected to House District 16 in 2010, Dee worked for the County of Kauai for over 36 years. She is currently the chair of the House Human Services Committee and also sits on Health, Housing, and the Judiciary Committees. She is married to Ken, has 4 sons, and resides in Waimea. So mahalo to all the state legislative candidates that are here tonight.
We'll begin with the basics. All candidates were provided with the same 12 questions prior to this forum. If you're running for the same seat, you'll receive the same question. For example, all 3 House District 14 candidates will get the same questions. There will be 3 rounds of questions with 90 seconds to answer each one. A reminder to please watch our timers, Melissa and Wiley, right over here, to see how much time you have left, and listen for the ring of the bell to let you know when it's time to stop.
And you'll also be given 2 yellow cards, or she already have them. This yellow card will allow you 60 seconds that you can rebuttal or respond to another candidate's question or get in the last word. If you have a yellow card left at the end and time allows, you may use it for closing remarks. So we'll begin with our candidates for the Senate seats with your first opening question. So what is the most pressing issue in your Senate district, and how will you, as a legislator, address it? So if we want to start with incumbent Kochi, and then can go down to candidate Ahuna right after that.
Aloha, can you hear? They were saying if we just spoke normally. Aloha? Well, we have infrastructure problems with our highways in particular. We have issues with drug abuse in our community. We have issues that face our economy, and how do we strengthen that and create a living wage for people here? Affordable housing and homelessness are all very important, as well as renewable energy to get the cost of operating a business down and put more money in our pockets. But I believe the most pressing issue facing us, and the greatest asset and most valuable thing we have, are our children. And so it's investing in our pre-K. From 2 years ago with $6 million, this year we've increased the pre-K funding to $10 million. And from K to 5, we have buildings that are very old and cannot carry the broadband capacity. They don't have the wireless connectivity for our students to utilize devices to be competitive with students throughout the world. Toward that end, we've put $5 million in this year's budget to ensure that all 15 public schools on Kauai will have the connectivity so that we can now pursue devices so we can achieve one-to-one learning goals, so our students can learn at their own pace. They can pursue what they're passionate in and make sure that they can compete with anybody in the world. And if we empower them and we allow them to get the skills to become great employees or create businesses and be entrepreneurs, we'll wind up where we will allow them to close the income gap. We'll allow them to become homeowners. And most importantly, we need to invest in all of our university system, but in particular here on Kauai at KCC. So we have the job training so that we can have our students empowered to go into the work world and be ready to perform. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. So I really believe that the most pressing issue for Kauai is to lift the transient accommodation taxes for our county, especially because the lack of these the lack of these taxes that we are not receiving. Since 2007, actually the state received 2,363% increase versus the counties who have received a minimum of 2.2% increase. And so it's really important to get this TAT tax back to Kauai, back to our people, to support beach liability and protection for our fire rescue and lifeguards. They are often rescuing outside of their jurisdiction, places like our state parks, Ha'ena, Napali Coast, Kokee, and we really need to give them that protection and that liability, as well as our infrastructure. That's a huge thing for us. Infrastructure and capital improvements. We have too much traffic here. We need support with our roadways. Affordable housing is another thing. We need more long-term affordable housing, not this short-term. And what is truly affordable housing? Affordable housing is not $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes. It's really looking at those homes that will actually support our homeless and our houseless. So long-term, not short-term, not homes that are being built and then in 10 years being sold on the market. State hospitals and community health centers are another one. It's very much essential to have our healthcare services in our rural communities, especially the west side, and as well as Samuel Mahelona, because that's supporting our North Shore communities. It's a needed service so thank you.
Thank you so much. And then Candidate Combs, and we're just going to go down the line, and I believe you all have the questions, so if you want to go one after the other. Thank you so much.
In contemplating, can you hear? Hi. It's difficult when we're all given exactly the same question to kind of try to, say something that is going to be significant to you as our voters to understand where we stand on things. I think that the most significant thing that I've had to deal with and had to have conversations about is the issue of affordable housing in my district. If it's not the number one thing that people mention, it's in the top 3. So in complaining about that at school with my students, I said, somebody needs to do something. And they said, Miss, you're somebody, do something. And so my whole heart is to try to show kids that they can participate in this democracy, that they can have a voice also. So in looking at this problem, as my fellow candidate mentioned, it's not always a homelessness problem. In fact, on Kauai, it's more of a houselessness problem. We have many families living in very crowded situations because they just are living together, and that's not ideal. So with several generations, and even on my street where I live, on Mamani Street, we have some houses that have probably 4 generations living there, and it's very crowded. So we'd like to be able to alleviate some of that. Part of it is that it's not a magic bullet, one single answer to the entire problem. It's multifaceted and requires a tremendous amount of research. As a legislator, I plan to explore all kinds of options. Rezoning to higher density is one, looking at allowing 5 to 6 story buildings in areas that do not negatively impact the current residents, allowing additional rental units on the properties, public-private partnerships with employers who, for instance, Kmart is wanting to provide employee housing.
Thank you, Candidate Combs. Candidate Nakamura.
Traffic congestion through East Kauai is the most pressing problem that I've been hearing from residents I've talked to. So if elected, I will work really hard to ensure that funding is in place for 3 important projects. One is to add a southbound lane, a Lihue-bound lane in front of Cocoa Palms, basically from the bridge to the beginning of the bypass road. And the project is moving forward. The second one is to add a northbound lane on the Kapa'a bypass road where there's only 1 lane now, so basically from the roundabout to Kuhio Highway. And the third project is to add a Lihue-bound lane from the other side of the bridge all the way to Hanamaulu. And that extension could be either on the side of the existing highway or using the Wailua-Cane roads. And so these are projects that are very important to this district, and I would work very hard to try to get funding for these projects. We should also, while we're working on these projects, really look at the contraflow lane situation in Kapa'a Town. It's backing up on weekday afternoons, backs up on Sundays now, and on holidays when it's no longer, it doesn't work. So I think that's something we should look at right away. And I believe the county and the state should partner. The state should be a partner to look at the shuttles on the east side, north shore, and south shore that ties into the main line so our visitors can get out of their cars and onto transit. That would help to alleviate the traffic. So I think by working together between the state and the county, we can try to address some of these goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Nakamura. Candidate Rosensteel?
Thank you. I share the opinion that our traffic issue is one of the largest issues that our district faces, and I also agree that we need these projects to move forward in a timely fashion and on budget. I also think we need to immediately solve the contraflow issue by opening maybe the cane roads and the additional accesses to Lihui so that we can stop the contraflow because it's very dangerous and we need the infrastructure. So I totally share that opinion. I agree that we need to move forward addressing the traffic congestion and infrastructure issues in our district. But I believe that the most pressing issue in our district are the interconnected social issues that our community faces. Things like drug addiction and affordable housing, the cost of living, houselessness. And I believe that these hard to tackle social issues are what's the most important thing that we come together and we solve for the future of District 14 and Kauai. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you so much. Candidate Oy?
Hi, my name is Tommy Oy, and my main issue we have in the District 15 is the traffic coming from Wailua to Lihui and from Lihui to the tree tunnel, and from the west side coming into Lihui in the morning. And a lot of these problems, there's only the simplest solution would be to see if the state and the county would participate in ride sharing or staggered work hours, where that ride sharing, if they would, if you share rides to Lihui, you would get maybe a free parking stall at the state building or the county building. And staggered work hours, I think that would help the state and the county because it would be more efficient and there would be more time for people, the public, to go and visit the different offices. But the solution for me from Wailua to Lihui would to build another lane over the, what you see is the ditches on the Mauka side of the road, where you can put culverts and put the road on the culverts. And what I would do would give there's a couple landowners there, give them incentive to dedicate some land for that extra lane.
I'd like to jump in here. For the KKCR family, everybody is so happy to be listening. I want to give my panelists some mic skills. Say your name first, and then be careful when you're talking into the mic. Make sure you're clear into it. Don't be too far. Don't be too close so that there's a thump, thump, thump. So that way people can hear you well, because I want you to be heard. Thank you.
Wow. Thanks for
Thank
the
you,
tips.
Felicia, and thank you, Candidate Oy. So, Candidate Morikawa.
Thank you, Dee Morikawa. First of all, I think the most pressing issue is AC in this cafeteria. But getting back to District 16, I do have newsletters in the back that talks about all. But in early July, I was tagged in a Facebook post about the sudden shutdown of hunting lands in Kauai. These are huge acreages of hunting lands. These are areas that my husband and I used to go bird hunting, and elderly people go there because it's easier to access than those rugged mountain hunting areas. So anyway, with complaints from the hunters and, of course, myself, we were able to get DHHL, which is Hawaiian Homelands, to agree to allow one more year for DLNR, which is Land and Natural Resources, to have another year to allow hunting. And hopefully in that year period, they will start talking about options. And I think one of the options would be to talk about land exchanges, because Hawaiian Homelands needs to be in areas where you can develop, where you can put infrastructure down and you can get these Native Hawaiians into the homes quick. So we need to have that discussion. Oops. And Hawaiian Homelands is getting a lot more funding year to year, so they have to start being more effective with how they use their monies and start to build these. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, candidates. All right, thank you so much, everybody. All right, so we're going to start off with our Senate candidates. Again, your first question will be, what do you consider a living wage in Hawaii? What would you do to address the disparity between men and women's wages for the same job? Senator Kochi?
Well, a living wage is, I'm sorry, my name is Ron Kochi. A living wage in Hawaii currently is at about $11 an hour. We're getting the reports on how difficult that is. And so we're going to go back at it. I believe that we'll be considering a new minimum wage increase in the upcoming legislative session. I have seen materials, though, where the $15 wage that was adopted in Washington State has now created an income for working people that make them ineligible for benefits that they're presently receiving. So I think we need to be careful. We need to look at where the $15 wage has been implemented and make sure that we put in a living wage that works for the people that we're trying to help the most. As far as the equal pay for equal work, we have 8 women in the Senate. We have a strong women's caucus, and that's part of the majority package of the Senate to continue to work at closing the pay gap. And while we're better than most states, we're still not where we'd like to be. And we're, again, continuing to work on that, and that will continue to be in the majority package of the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Kochi. Candidate Ahuna. And just a reminder, you guys do have 90 seconds to respond, and then you all do have your yellow cards, which will give you 60 seconds if you want to jump in on this question, because you are going to get different questions down the line.
Hi, aloha, Kanoe Ahuna. So what do you consider a living wage? I think that's a very subjective question because it depends on how one lives. So is it for survival, or is it just for making it, is it for providing for children, or does it mean providing for your children with thinking about college education ahead? But according to MIT, or Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a living wage in Kauai for a family of 5 is $22.15 an hour. And so that's $45,528 before taxes in a year. And I don't know about you, but I have a family of 5, and I don't think we could live off of that because my 3 boys eat a lot. And so living in Hawaii is really about 65% higher than the national average, and the cost of housing alone is extremely high in comparison to the national average, as we all know. So this includes our utilities, our groceries, our health care, and our transportation. So I truly believe in supporting the increasing the minimum wage over time to meet the cost of living. And in regards to disparity between men and women, I definitely, as a woman, believe that, it's actually a hot topic in the presidential election, and women have been paid 20% lower than men in the same job and employment. And this is the 21st century, so we really need to make a change in that.
All right. Thank you, Candidate Ahuna.
May I use a yellow card? Yeah. I think that when we're looking at the minimum wage, is this working? Yeah? Okay. When we're looking at the minimum wage, I'm sorry, I'm Sandy Combs, and I'm running for the 14th. Sorry. The reason that I'd like to address it is because I think that there are some things that are part of the demographic in Hawaii that are not part of some of the other states, and that is that 1 in 5 people in the state of Hawaii work for the government. So the minimum wage isn't as significant for them because they're getting into jobs that have something to do on a different kind of pay scale. And when you have that many people working for the government, You have people who aren't creating jobs for other people either. They're not entrepreneurs, they're not business people, they're working for the government. I work for the government. So I would like to see us address some of the reasons why we don't have high-paying other kinds of jobs besides minimum wage jobs.
Thank you so much, Candidate Combs.
And now the next question for State Representative for District 14 candidate, House Representatives. The question is, the cost of housing in Hawaii is some of the highest in the nation. What would you do to address both homelessness and the lack of affordable housing? We'll start with Candidate Combs.
I kind of answered that a little bit. This is Sandy Combs, running for the 14th district. And I talked about that a little bit in my introduction, having to do with houselessness as opposed to homelessness. And now, can you hear me now? Use a different mic. I'll do that. Thank you for sharing. So, in regard to coming up with alternatives for housing, that it's not enough it's an inventory problem on Kauai. We don't have enough houses to accommodate all of the people. And so what my proposal is that we look at ways to provide additional housing that's creative besides building on top of each other and all sharing the same house. So one of those is, as I started to say earlier, working with some of the larger employers who are having a hard time keeping employees, Kmart being an example of that. If we would find a way to provide housing there, then they would have a stable workforce because, of course, if you're getting an employee housing, you're not going to want to quit your job or be flaky. And then the employee then, especially those entry-level positions, kids can't afford to move out of their parents' home. And so if they had a way to do that. In addition to that, there's a way to streamline the process whereby people acquire farmland and they can start farms. If we don't streamline it, it's still a very laborious process, but if we're able to, then we could provide homes that way.
Thank you. Candidate Nakamura?
Nadine Nakamura. 2 weeks ago, I met a woman who is moving into her brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Ele'ele. Her mortgage is $238,000. She's part of the Kauai Habitat for Humanity project there, and over the past year, she and her family have put in 600 to 700 hours, along with other families in her team, building her and the other neighbors' homes. I think this is a really great example of how affordable housing can be built and the price point that we have to achieve to really make it truly affordable for our families. And this happened with the assistance of the county using federal funds, being able to help with the drainage, roads, sewer, and water. We were able to keep the price low and affordable. So it's important that government gets involved in providing free or subsidized land, helps with the cost of infrastructure on and off site, and also helps with low interest financing. On the homeless side, we need to the county and state need to partner together to build temporary shelters and recognize that homelessness also involves substance abuse, mental health issues, physical issues, and employment issues. We have to look at it holistically. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Rosensteel, please.
Fern Rosensteel. I believe we need a really well thought out, comprehensive approach to these important issues. We do need to increase the inventory and support affordable housing projects. We absolutely need a livable wage, which with affordable housing crisis here could be as much as $25 to $30 an hour at the moment. We need to ensure diversity in different densities and that we're creating multiple opportunities to keep prices affordable. I would be interested in investigating a rent control cap and ways that we can stop families getting pushed out of the market. And when it comes to houselessness, I'm inspired by housing first solutions that have happened in other states that have provided real solutions that give people bases and stability and then from there they can work on addressing other issues that might be affecting their lives. And as I said before, I believe that these social interconnected issues need to be addressed together, and to address homelessness and to address affordable housing, we need to look at a big comprehensive approach across the board. I'm inspired by the efforts of the state legislature last year in putting $12 million forward to address houselessness, and I think that we can do more. And I also support the tax credits, revolving funds, and the various good work in the community that helps us address these issues together. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Rosensteel. So we're going to go on to our District 15 candidate, Candidate Tommy Oy. Your question is, what percentage of Agribusiness Development Corporation, ADC, managed land, if any, should be mandated for local food production only?
Well, first of all, my name is Tommy Oy, and ADC, which is Agribusiness Development Corporation, they have their own board. I think their board should dictate, mandate what land, the percentage of land should be for local farmers. But in my thinking, we cannot give big acreage of land to farmers. I think we should cut back our land and give them acres, make agriculture parks with 2 or 3 acre lots with irrigation, where a small farmer would be able to sustain a small farm and make a living and subsidize himself.
Thank you so much for that response.
Now for District 16, what measures need to be taken to protect the public trust doctrine and Native Hawaiian rights? Candidate Morikawa.
Can I use my yellow card to say something about the ADC?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Go
I'll
ahead.
use that now.
Sure.
Okay, there shouldn't be this is about the ADC mandate. There shouldn't be a mandate since like Tommy Oy said, ADC was created to manage those lands. I wanted to say there's a very interesting conversation that's begun on hemp in Hawaii. There's a lot of organizations outside of Hawaii who are willing to come in and give us the expertise on how hemp farming can be sustained in the state. And I think that's a conversation that I've been involved in, and I'm going to continue to be involved in, because what we need to do is we have the land, but we need to find out what the problems are. We need to figure out how it can be manufactured so we can keep the product here and not export it out. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Do I answer that other question?
Yes, and now the next question.
Okay, thank you. That's D. Morikawa again. Measures to protect the public trust doctrine and Native Hawaiian rights. We need to protect Hawaii's natural resources. Hawaii's rivers, streams, oceans, and shores must be preserved in their natural state. However, providing irrigation waters to farmers, especially our taro farmers, is a priority. We need to make sure that water diversion does not impact our streams and rivers, and since we've lost our sugar and pineapple industries, we still need to maintain irrigation ditches to assure future agriculture ventures can survive. And that's why I support funding to repair and maintain our irrigation systems. In the larger picture of Native Hawaiian rights is the expansion of the Papahanaumokuakea Monument. I believe that the Northern Hawaiian Islands is an integral part of Hawaii, and the initial monument designation of 50 miles has had a huge impact in preservation. However, Native Hawaiians cannot access the area without a federal permit, and if they do get a permit, anything they catch or take cannot be brought out of that monument. That doesn't make sense to me, especially if we want to maintain Native Hawaiian rights. The proposal to expand 200 more miles around the existing 50 is worrisome. That's the size of the states of Washington, Oregon, California, and Texas put together. We need an environmental analysis before committing to this expansion. Thank you.
Mahalo, Candidate Morikawa. We're going to go back to our Senate candidates. And we're going to begin this time with Candidate Ahuna, then Candidate Kochi. So there is no Planned Parenthood clinic on Kauai. How will you ensure that all females have access to health care and full reproductive rights?
As a female myself, Kanoia Huna, State Senate candidate, this is actually a really important issue for myself as a female, and it needs to be addressed. I do know that we are getting some services here, services similar to Planned Parenthood here on Kauai. However, our teenagers and our young girls, they need to know that they have a place to go for whether it's in confidence, confidentially, or open with their families or parents. And so that is a very important issue. I'm committed to supporting not only prevention but intervention in education, health, and self-empowerment of knowing your body. So there are many issues affecting economic, educational, social, and legal equality for women, and a Planned Parenthood clinic on Kauai would provide services to respond to these issues, and thus a clinic would be definitely beneficial for our young women and men here.
Thank you, Candidate Ahuna. Candidate Kochi.
Hi, Ron Kochi, candidate for State Senate. It's a real challenge. The West Kauai complex has the highest teen pregnancy rate in the state of Hawaii, and yet when the Department of Health made decisions to provide services there in Lehue and Kapa'a, and so we've been meeting with Dr. Pressler and presenting the statistics. I was at a meeting this morning at KVMH with the doctors where this was the main topic of discussion, and how do we ensure that all sectors of our island get the services that they need. We were amazed that it seems everybody else knows what the statistics are, except the people in Honolulu making the decisions. And so we're continuing to work to ensure that that happens. And at this point, we continue to put funds in the budget as our budget has come back healthier. But during the Great Recession, with the kind of cuts that went across the board and the loss of federal funds, most of these programs were all federally funded, and the federal funds went away. With the Republicans taking control of Congress, there's no federal funds that are going to be coming to us anytime soon, so it's up to us to work at the state in partnership with the county and the private sector to create the opportunities that we need for young women here on Kauai.
Yellow card.
I'd like to, in regards to Senator Kochi's response, I do believe that it's really important to continue our funding and our resources here for our state hospitals, KMVH, as well as Samuel Mahilona. There's no other place for our people, especially in the rural communities like the West Side. And it's important for us to be able to have those services out there. Yes, a Planned Parenthood or some type of service for our teenagers and our young children out there is very important. I actually worked in the Native Hawaiian healthcare systems for 7 years and helped with identifying health careers to get our people, our local people back into working to service our people. And that's important. We can't be having mainland people service our people because they don't know how to. They don't know how to provide those services and connect with our people. So it's very important to have those services and continue those funding sources.
Thank you for that response. Yeah. Okay, so for the next question for District 14, we'll start with candidate Nakamura. And the question is, despite a fairly low rate of unemployment, Hawaii has the 6th highest rate of poverty in the United States. What will you do to address this?
Nadine Nakamura. We have roughly 250,000 Hawaii residents living in or below poverty. For a family of 4, the poverty income is $27,950. Our residents simply cannot keep up with the cost of living in Hawaii. I would propose to reduce taxes that people in poverty pay. Studies show that they pay a higher percentage of taxes compared to people with higher incomes. So 26 other states have passed a state earned income tax credit. So if you work and you're in poverty, you don't get dinged by paying taxes. The other thing that we need to do is we need to gradually increase the minimum wage, as our state legislature wisely did in 2014. That's why today our minimum wage is at $8.50. Next year, it goes up to $9.25. And the year after that, $10.10. So we need to have the conversation about what happens after 2018. I also think that to truly break the cycle of poverty, that we need to improve our public education system. We have to encourage students to be lifelong learners and to create higher paying jobs so that our children have the skills to succeed and afford to live in Hawaii.
Thank you. Candidate Rosensteel next.
Fern Rosensteel. I believe that we need to address this issue in many different ways. We need to address the poverty through improving the cost of living here or decreasing the cost of living here and supporting affordable housing initiatives like we've spoke about. I support a $15 minimum wage, and I believe that we can get there, and after 2018, we should. I also agree that we need to really expand our food production, agriculture, and create a booming sector that creates really quality jobs across the board, permanent quality jobs that bring in and reduce the cost of food, that stimulate our economy. I believe we need to support businesses, small businesses and entrepreneurs, and really work to keep the money in our community, plug the holes where money is leaving our economy, and support families. And I also support tax reductions for those making poverty wages. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. And now candidate Combs.
Sandy Combs. I think that my two fellow candidates have covered a lot of the areas, and I'd like to hit on one very strongly, and that's in education. The minimum wage isn't important to people who aren't shooting for minimum. And so when I talk to my students, I talk to them about being entrepreneurs. And we explore ideas about how they could go into business for themselves. And I tell them, if you work for somebody else, you make them rich. If you work for yourself, make yourself rich. So some of the things that are being dealt with at Kauai High School are the career kinds of education. But even in things that aren't considered careers, if we incorporate business education into every kind of education that students get, understanding that at the end of the day, it's all voc ed. We're all going to get jobs. So with that being said, I would like to add that agribusiness is something that is definitely up and coming on Kauai, and that we want to encourage is how to make our island independent of other places and sustainable, and by encouraging business and again streamlining the process to owning your own farm and being able to have a profitable business in that is one of the ways that we can do it.
Thank you so much, Candidate Combs. And Candidate Oy, so your question is the Agribusiness Development Corporation doing an adequate job in monitoring and reporting air and water quality within the lands they manage? Please expand on your answer.
Well, being the past land, district land agent on Kauai, I used to manage all the lands in Kekaha. And similar to ADC, we would provide this company with leases. Within the leases, you can put stipulations that the lessee, the lessor, should provide or take care of the air and water quality. If not, we can provide penalties on that. So it's up to the lessors to do the water quality and provide clean air on the properties. But if the properties are not on the lease from ADC, then ADC should take the initiative to make sure that the water quality is up to par. And I think right now they have somebody on board to do the testing on the water.
Thank you very much, Candidate Oy. And, okay, so candidate Rosenstiel, you want to use your yellow card? Thank you.
Yes, thank
You
you.
have 60 seconds.
I'd like to say that I believe that we can do a lot better when it comes to ADC monitoring and reporting. I believe that the violations to the Clean Water Act are unacceptable, and I also believe that the state constitution, I believe it's important that we follow our state constitution, and the violations in that way are also unacceptable. The Kekaha ditch came back with a reading that exceeded the threshold by which aquatic life is supposed to be exposed to, and I have serious concerns about that issue, and I believe that we need to take the drift and contaminated runoff issues very seriously. We have a responsibility that the practices that are happening on these state lands are not impacting communities or the surrounding environment. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that response.
So now for District 16, candidate Morikawa, what action do you feel the state legislature should take, if any, on the Joint Fact-Finding Committee's recommendations?
Thank you, Dee Morikawa. How appropriate that I would get this question. The legislature will probably support the State Department's request for funding because there's no sense in funding initiatives which can be supported by the agencies to be tasked with whatever recommendation they decide to follow. I introduced back in 2013 HB 73, which was the pesticide reporting bill. It had everything in it from buffer zones to pesticide reporting to everybody, to even the termite companies. There was a heavy discussion through the whole legislative session, and it was watered down, but it was a compromise that we came to. But it is something that the Department of Ag is implementing and can make better. There is that reporting available. There is also the Good Neighbor program on Kauai, which is working. It should be expanded to all islands because every island has different issues, and I believe that is where we need to do it. When I was first elected 6 years ago, I attended a Farm Bureau event on the west side, and I commented to them about how barren and dirty the vacant land looked all the way from Hanapepe to Mana. And, you know, today, you look at it now, they took my advice and they've put ground cover down and they mow it. So it's a lot of work, and that's private and public landowners. So I just want to say that I'm happy to see that at least has been taken care of. But thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Morikawa. You're going to use your second card? Yeah. All right. So candidate Rosenstiel.
Fern Rosenstiel again, yes. I believe that we need mandatory statewide disclosure immediately. I feel that recommendations in the Joint Fact-Finding Group need to be implemented, and I've worked with the governor in the recent weeks to understand why. I think that we absolutely need buffer zones disclosure, and we need to resume data collection. We need to resume data collection of birth defect records, which have stopped since 2006. We need to absolutely support the recommendations, which are more than reasonable. And we must always remember that the absence of proof is not proof of absence. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Rosenstiel. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So everybody gets the idea, and this is our last round. So we're going back to our Senate candidates. So we'll start with, Senator Kochi. So in your role as legislator, how will you meet the environmental threats to Hawaii's marine life and its declining coral reefs?
Aloha, Ron Kochi. I'm not sure, looking at the time, that we're going to have closing remarks. So before I answer, I'd simply like to introduce by the water cooler my wife Joy, and sitting down my son, or our son Egan, who is done with school and working here. I'd like to thank them for their support in the campaign and allowing me to continue to do what I'm doing. On the protection of the reefs, I received the communication from Carl and the concerns of Surfrider and the water quality in Poipu. I have met with the Department of Health, communicated to them that the signs needed to go up as directed by the EPA. I'm happy to report that as of today, the signs are up in Poipu to warn people about the water quality. I think Representative Morikawa has raised some great issues about the Native Hawaiian rights in the monument expansion issue and some environmental questions need to be addressed, but I believe the proposal that was put out by Senator Schatz clearly shows a reduction in the area that would affect the fishermen on Kauai while getting the expansion and achieving the environmental goals that we all aspire to for the future of all of our children. And so I do support Senator Schatz's expansion proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kochi. Right, Candidate Ohuna.
Hi, aloha, kanoia huna. So, as a role of legislator, I would meet the environmental threats to Hawaii's marine life by, well, for sure, all of us understand and know and are aware that we live on Middle Island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And so our healthy marine life is essential to our living, not only because it's sustainability for the food that we eat, but it's the waters that our children play in. I myself am contest to my son back there who actually had an environmental issue with a brain tumor that just happened recently back in January that we just found out, and had to deal with that. And going to Stanford Research Hospital, through a research hospital as itself, we found out that it was an environmental issue that actually entered through his right ear. So that, like, our clean water is a huge, huge concern of mine. And I believe we need to do something about that. So education and raising awareness to take action on preventative approaches that are already being presented to our legislators, we need to honor that. We need to acknowledge that. Even at the ground level in our schools, educational materials for our keiki, parents, community, and just acknowledge things, know that they're, like our candidate Fern stated, that there's already reports of our water quality. Let's do something about it.
Okay, thank you very much. And now back to District 14. Oh, excuse me, yellow card. Okay, please go ahead.
Nadine Nakamura on the issue of marine life and declining coral reefs. I just think that we really need to look holistically and not just look at what's downstream, but what's contributing to the degradation of our marine life and our coral reefs. We need to adequately fund DLNR, aquatic resources, so that they can better manage and monitor our aquatic resources. We need to adequately fund the Invasive Species Council so they can respond to threats immediately. We need to provide low-interest loans to counties so they can partner with the private sector to create regional wastewater treatment plants in coastal areas that are contributing to poor water quality. And most importantly, I feel that we have to bridge the communication gap between the community and groups that monitor our resources and the Department of Health so they can agree on protocols and work and analyze data so we can move forward together as a community.
Thank you. Okay. So now to District 14, we'll start with candidate Rosensteel, and the question is, support the ban on commercial food waste in order to reduce methane emissions. What are the alternatives to putting food waste in the landfill?
Thank you. Fern Rosensteel. I support looking at ways that we can reduce the food waste. And I work at a third-generation family-run restaurant, and all of our food waste and slop goes to local farmers and hunters that utilize them for feeding operations. I believe that we can utilize energy and utilize the resource. We can also put it into composting projects. I would be open to a program that works with the largest producers that helps to create these solutions and utilize this as a resource and reduce the methane emissions, as you said.
Thank you. Candidate Combs.
Hi, Sandy Combs. I absolutely support a ban on commercial food waste in order to reduce the methane emissions. And I think that we have a couple of really good examples throughout the nation. I say this word wrong, Massachusetts. Um, they have a model that works. In the band, one of the most important things is they partnered with business and with community to use the byproducts and the waste in a good manner. The alternatives, like Fern mentioned, composting, biofuel, anaerobic digestion, repurposing, food bank donations, those are all things that have been really effective in reducing that amount. I'd like to address the food waste at our schools. It is astronomical. One of our science teachers went through and went through the trash at Kauai High School. Mandating that kids take food they know they're not going to eat is ridiculous. If you know you're not going to eat the apple, don't take the apple, but they're forced to take the apple. So there are ways that we can address some of these things ahead of time instead of at the end result, which is just excessive waste.
Thank you.
Nadine Nakamura. In 2006, food waste comprised roughly 15% of Kauai's municipal solid waste stream. So this is a really important question. Methane contributes to global warming. So if we have a method to capture the methane, use it as a renewable source of energy to run our bus fleet or to help run our wastewater treatment plants, we should definitely pursue it. In Oakland, that's what they did. They used, to run their wastewater treatment plant, they bring in scraps from restaurants and other eateries. They put it into a anaerobic digester. It breaks down the food waste, creates methane, and the methane is used to run a wastewater treatment plant. And I believe that our County Sustainability Manager, Ben Sullivan, is looking at this for our Lihui wastewater treatment plant. So it's something that the state should definitely support. I would support a ban for every county if we had in place systems like this that will help to get our waste into a centralized, the food waste into a centralized system, and there's a system in place to bring the waste to that site. So it's definitely something that the state should pursue. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Candidate Nakamura and candidates from District 14. Yellow card. All right, Senator Kochi.
Thank you, Ron Kochi. I don't have a rebuttal because I don't disagree with what has been said. But on opening day, in my opening day speech, I talked about that methane anaerobic biodigester. But the one I envision is the one that is being fed by biofuels so that we are taking advantage of fallow land and putting it back into production. We take the food waste, we take the waste material from Kauai coffee that costs them as a business cost and create value out of what is currently waste. What you then do is add additives into the biodigester and you can create feed for fish, feed for cattle, but most importantly, I saw the application for feed for hogs. Kanashiro Farms is the largest hog producer here in the state of Hawaii, located on Kauai. And if we could have crops growing in the ground, growing livestock, creating renewable energy, and diverting this from the waste stream, I think it's a win-win-win-win-win solution.
Thank you for all your responses. We're going to go on to District 15 candidate, Tommy Oi. So, let's see here. What will you do to reduce the influence of money on politics and restore government transparency? And then also for time-wise, District 16 candidate Morikawa, you'll have the same question.
First of all, the United States Supreme Court allowed the forming of super PACs to put money into presidential campaigns. They can put billions or millions of dollars into it. And so the United States Supreme Court did that. The only way we can control contribution is the government has in place the Campaign Spending Commission. The Campaign Spending Commission monitors all candidates, their spending, what they receive from different organizations. And it's online where you can go online and you can look at every candidate, what they took in and what they spent their money on. So I think we have something in place already, and we don't have to do anything more than that.
All right. Thank you, Candidate Oi. Right. Candidate Morikawa.
Thank you. I was also going to talk about the Campaign Spending Commission. However, the candidate, him or herself, has to be a good reporter of what is collected and what is spent. So that is something that each candidate has to do properly. But the House has passed a resolution signed by 45 House members, myself included, both Democrat and Republicans, urging Hawaii's congressional delegation to propose and pass a proposed amendment to the United States Constitution clarifying that corporations are not people with constitutional rights and that unlimited campaign spending is not free speech. Thanks. So we are trying. As far as government transparency, it is available not just in campaign, but government records through the Office of Information Practices. And they'll help anyone requesting assistance. And whenever we hear legislation regarding any new processes or task groups or committees, they're always at the legislature giving their input on how to make that legally correct. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. If any of you still have a yellow card left, we'll allow you to use one yellow card that you can use for your closing remarks, for which you'll have 60 seconds. Okay. Candidate Morikawa.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, the only one
Coming your
is
way.
not working. I'm so sorry. Mahalo, everyone, for taking the time to listen to us and to be informed about your candidates this election. I love what I do so much that I've been blessed to have not missed a day of session in all my 6 years, and I've attended almost all my committee hearings. I've built good relations with my colleagues in both the House and Senate because these relationships are the most valuable asset of being a legislator. We all try to help each other develop good policies. I am running for re-election to State House District 16, which is Southwest Kauai and Niihau, because I feel deep in my heart, deep in here, that I can make a positive impact on people's lives. I can't please everyone, but I continue to listen and understand everyone's passion. There's so much more we need to do and many more issues and concerns to deal with, but that's a challenge I look forward to, and I can assure you I give you representation you can depend on. So I humbly ask for your vote of confidence to allow me to continue doing this important work for you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Another yellow card. Oh, okay.
Well, anyway, I'd like to thank all of you for participating in this forum, and I'm glad that I was invited to this forum. And for me, running for office, the main purpose of running for office is a team that would worry and depend strictly for Kauai. My whole thing is about what we can do for Kauai as a team. I worked with Dee Morikawa for 3 years, and I know I can work with her if I get elected next week, and the District 14 representative. And as a team, we can move Kauai forward better than by working as an individual. And I'm pretty sure I could work with Mr. Ron Kochi, since we drink the same beer.
Thank you, Candidate Oi.
Nadine Nakamura. First of all, I'd like to thank Laurel Breyer and all of the organizations to help sponsor tonight's event. I'm excited for running for this House seat because I like to work to build a stronger and more vibrant Kauai and state of Hawaii. And it starts with strong, supportive families that are healthy, thriving, and living a good quality of life. It starts with children who are engaged in school and challenged in their school and outside of school. And it starts with maintaining the natural beauty and resources of Kauai and ensuring that future generations can enjoy all that we sometimes take for granted. And it also starts with ensuring that our most vulnerable in society, our kupuna, our disabled, and our mentally challenged do not get left behind. I respectfully ask for your vote If elected, I pledge to listen to you, to actively seek solutions, and continue working for a better Hawaii. Mahalo.
I'm Sandy Combs. I probably should say this. What happens if you drop your comb at the beach? What do you get? Sandy Combs. Oh. All right, it's cheesy, but you're going to remember. I am just proud and blessed to represent the District 14 population, but specifically my students. I want to thank them for the encouragement and the love that they show. They're an amazing bunch of kids, and I want to make them proud. I'm really grateful to my husband and my own children who have supported me throughout this endeavor. I would challenge you to look at the candidates and look at us carefully and decide who represents you, because that's the important thing. Who truly represents what you think and feel in the direction that you think that this island should go in, and then vote for them.
Thank you.
Hi, Kanoia Huna. Well, first of all, I'd like to mahalo the organizations that put this on and opportunity to be at this forum. And I really want to acknowledge my 3 sons back there. All 3 are here, super blessed to have all 3 of them present, as well as my husband, especially after the journey we went through this year. To have them here is amazing. In closing, I really just want to say that we can make a choice to vote for our future, for the best of who we are as people of this aina, our keiki, and our kopuna. Together, we can give Kauai what is so rightfully what we deserve here on Kauai, a strong, resilient, and more transparent voice at the state capitol, free from the trappings of the status quo. And so therefore, I, Kanoia Huna, humbly ask for your vote to be our next state senator for District 8. Let us together bring the best of who we are into the future for our beloved Kauai and Ni'ihau. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Aloha, Ron Kochi, running for State Senate. I'd like to thank the organizers, certainly thank all of you. What an overwhelming turnout this evening. The first year when you gave me the opportunity to serve in the State Senate, I was asked to be the caucus leader and part of the leadership team. Within 5 years, I earned the respect of the majority of my caucus, and they asked me to be their president. It's been an honor and a privilege to be the first Senate president from the island of Kauai. And I believe that that experience and leadership role has translated into significant positive benefits for all of us here on Kauai. I will simply close because our eldest son, Dan, just walked off a plane about 5 minutes ago, coming home from the mainland by saying, I am grateful for your past support, and I certainly would like to ask you for your support next Saturday in the primary election. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve you. I'm humbled by your support. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, candidates. I'd like to bring your attention to the program, and there's a few small corrections. We've included contact information for all the candidates because you very well may have other questions that you'd like to address the candidates. Okay. Okay. So, and thank you very much for your participation. That's it. Okay.
Your best. Thanks so much for being here. We good, Dr. Rob? Good? Good, Felicia? Okay. All right. Everybody's all set now. So aloha again, and welcome to people who are just joining us. My name is Patricia Wistinghausen with Kauai Young Democrats and Women's Caucus, and I'm one of your moderators for tonight's forum.
Aloha, I'm Leilani Spencer. Oh, this is awkward. I'm here representing the American Association of University Women. And thank you so much for coming out tonight, and thank you, candidates. Oh, thank you.
Mahalo also to our partner organizations, Apollo Kauai, Surfrider Foundation, Zero Waste Kauai. Right here. And DKC Productions for helping us with all these mics. Right? Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Okay. So, right here. Can we get started? Do the
Okay.
introductions. All right.
We'll read this part here first, right? Sure. Or you did that. Go. Okay, well, they're already here. We want to remind people that we are broadcasting this forum live on KKCR, Kauai Community Radio 91.9 FM. Mahalo to Felicia Cowden, host of Kauai Soapbox on Tuesdays from 4 to 6, for making the arrangements to broadcast this forum live to her listeners here on Kauai and around the world for people who are listening in.
We're also live streaming on facebook.com/Kauai Young Democrats. All right.
All right, so what we'll be doing is we'll ask the first question of all of the candidates. First, we'll introduce an individual candidate, and the question is, what county issue will be a main focus for you, and how might it distinguish you from the other candidates? Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer this question. So we'll begin with June Apala. Juno. Oh, excuse me. Juno Apala. Fix the glasses. Born in the Philippines, raised on Kauai, Juno is the PR coordinator for Malama Pono. She serves Kauai through Zonta Club of Kauai, treasurer-elect and member of the Scholarship Committee of HCF. Her platform is on improving communication systems, resolving public input in government, and bridging generational gaps in leadership. So the first question, what county issue will be a main focus for you and how might it distinguish you from other candidates?
Aloha, everybody, and thank you for gathering today to practice your civic right. My name is Juno Anapala, and I want to say thank you for our sponsoring organizations who put this event together, and also for our moderators here who are asking us the questions, as well as for our candidates who are running and putting themselves out there for you. What county issue will be a main focus for me is A, bridging the inequities between government leadership and the community feedback, and B, houselessness. And I want to focus on these because I am from a generation who will live through the decisions that each one of us from our state level down to our county level are going to live through past the decisions have been made. And I'm here to illuminate the way for others like my peers who are sitting in this room to stand up and also step up for what they believe is their future and take ownership for it. Thank you.
Right. Mahalo, candidate Apala. So we have candidate Matthew Bernabe, who's born and raised in Hawaii, a graduate from Kapa'a High, class of 91. He's married with 2 daughters, and his primary reason for running is Kauai residents deserve a better return on the tax dollars collected. Priorities are not aligned with the needs of the public, while special interests are sold as great core services suffer. We need to insert best practices in writing for all areas of county operations, especially human resources policies.
Good evening, everyone. Is this on? Can you hear me? Oh, I guess that's not a good question. How's it, everybody? Matt Bernabe. Yeah, I'm running for similar reasons to Juno, except I have children. And I'm getting involved so that their future is a lot better than where I think it's going to be if I don't get involved. You know, I've started going to meetings about 2 years ago just to get educated. I just went there to get educated. I had no aspirations to run. But as I got educated, as I became to learn the issues and how we operated this county, it dawned on me that we don't use best practices. We use past practices. And we need to change that. So I want to work so that we can instill best practices into every day. And not just put them in, but make sure we follow them. We need to measure job performance, and then if there's a breach of that job performance, we need to be able to enforce it. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate.
Candidate Mason Chalk, thank you, has been active in community service as a fireman, a business owner, a nonprofit director, leadership development facilitator, council member, and numerous boards. His understanding of our culture, people, and our challenges allows him to collaborate with others for the best solutions while being forward-looking and outcome-oriented.
Hello, Mike Kako. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the organizations for putting this together tonight. I think it's so important for us to get out and to learn about not only the issues, but the people who can help support those issues that we're passionate about. I see this as a two-pronged question, but for me, understanding the role of the council is really about budget and overseeing the budget. And it just surprises me, baffles me that we haven't developed a budget plan to this date. And so along with this budget plan that I'm advocating for that is currently in process being developed, I believe that it will give us the ability to properly lead, to set priorities like Matt was talking about, to understand what we're focusing on, because there are core needs that are not being addressed, and we need to get clearer. Our budget has grown excessively. We need to know how to cut and where to cut, and those times may be coming. In addition, there are things that need to be addressed now. And so I believe that building efficiency and capacity by proper leadership is going to be the key, and we need to have the right mechanisms to do so. The second part of that is more passionate to me, that I think distinguishes me from other candidates. As a native Hawaiian, the environment is very important to me. And my intention, I've been working already on looking at the things that are going to sustain us and our children for the future, and those include our natural resources. The water, the vai is so important to me, and that's where I'm focusing my time and energy. I begin to identify overlays within our county jurisdictions that need to be preserved. And we need to work along with our kupuna and the different organizations around the island to identify those springs, those areas that are being threatened, that need to be preserved and protected, because our water is our future. It is the future of our businesses, it is the future of life, and we need to do everything we can to protect it.
Thank you, candidate. Our next candidate was born and raised is Norma Dr. Sparks. She's born and raised on Kauai and has roots in the sugar plantations and community services. A former Hawaii Deputy Attorney General and Director of large social services public agencies in Hawaii and California, she was responsible for 14,000 employees and a $4 billion budget in her last position.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. I think that this is an important time for all of us to learn more about all of the candidates. And I'm running for county council because I'm very concerned about the budget. As you've heard, I've had a lot of experience working with large agencies. As you heard earlier, a $4 billion budget. And I'm concerned that right now we need an experienced and tried leadership. And I think that I can provide that. I am concerned that right now we've heard mixed messages about the budget. We've heard that the county is broke and that we actually need to pay more taxes in order to get better services. And at the same time, the county previous budget that was just passed actually has $800,000 for travel. And there were only 72 miles of road that was fixed with the millions of dollars that we are paying into our highway fund. And there were also about $10 million almost every year that is budgeted but not spent. I have the experience to manage these dollars. I have had the experience of having to make difficult decisions in times of difficult and recession periods of time. Government budgets are very different from private budgets, and we need to learn more about how we can get more federal and state dollars into this county. I'm proud to say that in almost every job I've had, I have been able to raise at least $10 million in federal funds. I think I'm the only candidate who has had this experience actually managing large agencies and also large budgets. And I hope that this will give me the opportunity to help the people of Kauai.
The next candidate is Richard Fukushima, was born and raised in Kapa'a. He attended Kapa'a Elementary and Kapa'a High School. He served in the U.S. Army Security Agency and the Hawaii Army National Guard. He worked at the Kauai Library District Office and the Hanapepe Public Library for 34 years. He's a supporter of the veterans of all wars, the seniors of Kauai, and all of the people of Kauai and Ni'ihau.
Aloha. I am a new face with a name, Fukushima. My nephew was a councilman several years back, so people are getting confused with the first name, Richard now, not Jesse. Thank you. Okay, my main my main concern will be on the budget. I've worked with the Kauai Library District budget for over 20 years, planning the whole expenditures for the operation of 5 libraries on Kauai and the bookmobile, on personnel, supplies, equipment, and books. I also did the inventory of the equipment for the libraries on Kauai. I was the supervisors for all the janitors on each libraries of Kauai. I would be interested to know the interests of other candidates so that we can share a common bond and progress there for a better tomorrow and a brighter future for Kauai. I realize that it will take time to review and analyze our government spending and expenditures. We must be prudent and accountable to the citizens of Kauai and Ni'ihau. We must separate ourselves and seek answers to many questions that people are asking. Why? Planning, researching, checks and balances should be the key in tackling a monumental task. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. So our next candidate is Gary Hooser, who is a longtime resident of Kauai, where he raised his family and started several small businesses. Gary represented Kauai and Ni'ihau in the Hawaii State Senate for 8 years, where he also served as majority leader. Gary was also the director of the Office of Environmental Quality Control for the state of Hawaii before returning to public office and the Kauai County Council in 2012.
Aloha. Thank you all for coming, and I just can't get over what a great turnout we have here tonight. It just really, really inspires me and makes me proud of our community that all of you would take the time to show up tonight. So thank you very much. Before I get into the actual issues themselves, you can find out, I have issues on my website, garyhooser.com. So those of you that aren't here or you want to look it up, there's some very specific information on issues. Over there at the table, there's a card, there's bumper stickers. If you want to take a t-shirt, if you promise to wear it, you can take a t-shirt as long as they last. And you're welcome to call me, 652-4279. That's my cell phone number. And I'm really seriously open to calls, and I try my best to keep up. You can access me on Facebook. And I believe that one of the primary duties of a council member is to be accessible to the public, to be there to answer your questions, to listen, and to learn from you as well. One thing that I'm multitasking. There's lots of issues. There's issues that are specific to one area. And I believe in being specific in my responses to those areas. A lot of politicians are mushy on these things, but issues like the dairy in Mahalapu. I oppose the dairy in Mahalapu as is proposed. I support diversified agriculture. The dairy could go somewhere else. There's too many risks. It's too sensitive an area in many, many ways. So that's number one. Number two, I support limiting growth until we get the traffic fixed in Kapa'a and around the state. We need growth, affordable housing in areas where we already have urban centers, but we need to restrict any major new developments until we get a handle on our infrastructure. I support increased regulation of the agrochemical industry and support the recommendations of the Joint Fact-Finding Committee 100%. Thank you. I support limiting, that was my bell. I'm Gary Hooser. Please call me, 652-4279.
Thank
you.
And all the contact information is in the program for your future reference, as well as the tables. Our next candidate is Errol Kaneshiro. He is a rancher from Omau, where he currently manages a 600-head sheep farm. He serves as a council member for the County of Kauai and Grove Farm Company Incorporated as a project manager. He's a graduate of Pacific University in Oregon, and he's a certified public accountant.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think we got a yellow light up there, so in our 30 seconds. But, okay. As far as for me, what is my main focus? Obviously, as a budget and finance chair, budget and fiscal responsibility is an utmost importance. I'll strive to work on creating sound financial policies that will guide our county decision-making and ensuring financial stability for future generations. And one of the important policies that we're dealing with are our general reserve fund, or you can call it unassigned fund balance. And the policy we're working on will help demonstrate prudent financial management, fiscal management, and creditworthiness by establishing an appropriate general reserve fund. And our general reserve fund is like our savings account. So this balance, our savings account, will cover any financial interruptions that should occur, such as a natural disaster, large downturn in the economy, or unexpected legal claims or unfunded mandates. And once we have this policy established, the balance, it'll determine what the balance is, and it'll also guide us on what we can spend the excess reserve money on. Right now it's kind of like throwing darts. How much money should we have? We don't know. Do we have enough to spend it on other things? And having sound financial policy will give us a clear road to what we should do. And things, once you establish how big our savings account is, how comfortable we are with it, then any excess money, this policy will determine how you can spend it. Things would be priority items such as roads and bridge repairs or reconstruction, reduction of long-term debt, and offsetting of one-time shortfalls in the budget. And I think as a council member, the budget is one of the most important functions we have. So thank you.
Right. Mahalo, candidate. So before we proceed, just as a reminder for our radio audience, or even people here in this room, you can go to apollokauai.com to their website to see the program. It's going to have all the candidates' contact information, and any corrections that will be made, it'll be made tomorrow morning. So just as a reminder. Okay, so our next candidate is... So our next candidate is Derek Kawakami. He served the Kauai County Council from 2008 to 2011 and was appointed to the Hawaii State House 14th District in 2011, where he held a number of leadership roles. Kawakami graduated from Kauai High School and Chaminade University. He and his wife Monica have 2 children, Christopher and Haley.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm Derek Kawakami, and it's absolutely fantastic and great to finally be back home with all of you again. I have 2 more kids that weren't mentioned, my dogs Persephone and Kina. Persephone and Kina, if you're at home listening, Daddy loves you too. I would just like to say that I've been serving in an elected official for 10 years. I started out in 2006 with KIUC and progressed my way, and I absolutely loved every single waking second serving all of you on Kauai and Niihau in the state of Hawaii. So thank you first and foremost for that tremendous opportunity and that privilege to serve you, and I hope to continue to serve you on another level, this county level. I think what the biggest issue for Kauai is not very much different than the rest of the nation. It's always quality of life issues, cost of living, economic development and diversification, affordable housing, traffic, public safety. What I hope to bring to the table is a return to that collaborative spirit that Kauai and Niihau is known for. When we went through some of the toughest challenges in our history, it was the community that came back together and worked together to those ashes and revive ourselves. You're going to hear people saying that it's a county issue or a state issue or a federal issue. I don't want you to listen to that. These are people that insist on thinking and working inside of the box. We need to think outside of the box to solve these issues, and we got to stop looking at issues as if we all have to play in our own sandbox. Over the course of the years, I've been able to build strong relationships on every level of government and the private sector, and I hope to serve as your council member to bring some of that collaborative spirit back. Aloha.
Mahalo. Next candidate is Kipukai Kuali'i. He was born and raised on Kauai and attended the Kamehameha schools in Honolulu and the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California. Kuali'i has over 20 years of experience in government, labor, and nonprofit administration, as well as many years volunteering as a community organizer, fighting for economic and social justice. Council member, Kauai County Chair, Economic Development Committee and Vice Chair, Budget and Finance Committee.
Aloha, I'm Kipukai Kuali'i. Welcome to Puhi, the place I grew up. Mahalo for your support in electing me to the council in the last election. As everybody else has figured out, or most of them have, the budget is our biggest responsibility and affects most of our decisions. I will continue pushing for government efficiency through fiscal responsibility and holding our county leaders accountable. I will continue asking the tough questions and carefully analyzing all expenditures, especially salaries and salary-related expenses, which is by far our largest expenditure. I will continue looking closely at all vacant positions and calling for downsizing wherever possible. Partially because of my efforts, the administration has created a vacancy review committee, helping move us in that direction, though far too slowly. And due to my proviso amendments, we now have more detailed expenditure reports, allowing us to do further scrutiny. I fell 1 vote short from stopping high-level raises, creating over 30 $100,000 positions, and fell 2 votes short from putting a charter amendment proposal before the voters to mandate allocating existing real property tax and transient accommodation tax revenues toward our $100 million roads repair backlog instead of creating any new taxes. My vote did make the difference in stopping the new sales tax that would have hurt our low-wage earners, fixed-income seniors, and struggling families the most. No one is digging deeper or working harder to protect your hard-earned tax dollars. With your help, I will continue pushing towards achieving greater accountability, increased cost savings, and ending the out-of-control spending. You deserve nothing less. Mahalo.
Thank you, candidate. Our next candidate is Joanne Yukimura. Joanne Yukimura's work has enhanced the quality of life and lowered the cost of living for families and businesses through results. 1,600 affordable homes, the Kauai Bus, an electric cooperative, 250 acres of coastal parklands, and more. Let's keep Kauai, Kauai, even as we grow and change.
Aloha. Thank you for this wonderful turnout. My focus and issue is keeping Kauai, Kauai, even as we grow and change, which means protecting and perpetuating the things that we love about Kauai, even as we grow. It all starts with vision, and keeping Kauai, Kauai is my vision. Vision has been one of my strengths. Vision is seeing the possibility of something that doesn't yet exist, then helping to bring it into existence. And working with many of you here, I've helped to bring into existence the first sunshine markets, the Kauai Bus, the first self-help housing, bike paths, and the first electric utility co-op in the state. 2 examples of how we can create, keep our island special even as we grow. In addressing traffic, instead of building 6 and 8-lane highways, which only gets recongested very quickly and begins to make us look like Honolulu, we need to make it safe, easy, and pleasant to walk, bike, and ride a bus shuttle within our towns and between towns also use a bus. And providing affordable housing is one of the ways to keep Kauai, Kauai, because then our families don't have to leave this island because of the high cost of living. So vision and experience is what you'll get when you put the X next to the Y to keep Kauai, Kauai. Please vote Joanne Yukimura for council. Mahalo.
Mahalo County Council candidates for your introductions. So just as a recap for you, I'm going to get to the rules. Okay. As a recap for you, Our timers, of course, are here in the front. You can see them holding up their signs. When your time is getting close to being over, you are going to have 90 seconds to answer each of your questions. We're doing 3 rounds. So when you're getting close to being over, you're going to see the sign go up and then start to be lowered, and then you're going to hear the ding of the bell. And that's when you need to wrap it up. So for our county council candidates, there's a lot of you. So we do have these 4 topic areas that you can choose from for your questions. So the 4 topic areas for those listening online, on the radio, wherever you're at, thanks for hanging in, and everybody here, are environment, social issues, solid waste, self-reliance, and infrastructure. There's about 5 to 8 questions in each box. So once the questions are gone from a box, they're going to go back in again before you can have a chance of maybe answering the same question. So again, we're going to randomly pull after you pick your topic, 90 seconds to answer, 3 rounds. You do have 2 yellow cards each. The yellow cards are 30 seconds that you'll have to rebut or respond to another person's question, or you could potentially save this for your closing remark. So it's up to you. All right, so we're going to get started here. Okay, we're going to start with candidate Apala. If you can pick your topic, please. And everybody, you can think of your topic ahead of time, and then we'll have more time for your responses at the end.
I'd like to pick the self-reliance and infrastructure.
All right, so your question is, what is your position on Bill 2627, which would allow additional rental units, ARUs, in Lihue District? What about extending to other areas of the island?
Thank you. And for my understanding of the bill that allows for additional units and additional rental units here on the island is now currently isolated to the Lihue area with the Lihue Town Core project of expanding it. And my position on that is twofold. First, I'm for it because I am living with my parents currently. I'm 28 years old and I am houseless. That's in definition by the National Housing Association. I am houseless because I live in an impermanent situation, meaning I could get kicked out anytime. Right, Mom? My mom's sitting right there.
And
hopefully I have chosen the right decisions and chosen the right things to do in my life to keep me at home and helping them, but at the same time, I would love to be self-reliant. And I sit in on the council meetings tracking where the discussions are, and right now, the biggest discrepancy is our feedback. And that's why I'm working very hard to pound the pavement, knocking on your doors, talking to you face to face, because part of the protocol into public servitude is meeting you halfway. The next step is for you to meet us halfway, because there are many efforts in our county level and in our public organizations to help us solve this issue. Thank you.
Mahalo, candidate. And just as a reminder for our radio listeners to keep the microphone at about 3-inch distance, just so you have a good sound for our listeners.
The next candidate, Matt Bernabe. Okay. Yellow card. And say your name first when you're talking for our radio audience.
Okay, mahalo. Mason Chalk. Yeah, I just wanted to also answer that question because the housing issue on Kauai is a crisis. It's a real big issue, not only now, but will be in the future, because the estimation is that we need about 10,000 units in the next 20 years. And we haven't scratched the surface in being able to address that. And so to answer the question about do I support the ARU bill, yes, it's one of many, many, many steps that we need to take as a county to try and help our wow.
Sorry, yellow card's
So
30 seconds.
Light at the
Pretty fast.
office.
But you'll have a chance to choose your area too. Next candidate, Matt Bernabe. What's your area of choice?
I'll start with solid waste, please, for 500.
Randomly chosen. The question is there a better plan for commercial food waste than dumping in the landfill?
Oh, is there a better plan? Well, you know, I actually talked to all the workers at the transfer stations and the solid waste, and most of the food that they see is they don't see as much as they see other problems. We have a lot of pig farmers, and we also have a lot of hunters that pick up the food. However, you know, if we could somehow connect the people that would need some of that food, because some of the food that's wasted that gets thrown away with expiration dates is viable, and maybe we just need as a county to be that catalyst that connects the people that have and the people that have not. And maybe right there is a little area, but you know, as far as the food at the dumps, I actually asked the workers, and they don't see as much. They see more from homes than they do see large chunks of drops off. They see more hangers from Macy's and skips that they don't break down. That's vertical space. So I actually asked them specifically, and I didn't see that much of a problem, but we could definitely do more to reduce the waste, for sure.
All right, thank you, candidate. So, and candidate Chalk, your topic.
I'll take social issues.
Right, candidate Chalk, your question is, what is your stance on a $15 minimum wage for county employees?
Okay, well, you know, there was a resolution that was introduced this past term that supported an increase for minimum wage across the board, and I supported that. I think it's important that we move towards that living wage, and what that is in Hawaii is very high, everyone. And I heard a figure of $22 earlier. My estimation was that it is higher. And so, that being said, I believe that we can look at supporting minimum wage for everyone, but where that is really key to understanding. We all need to be moving forward. So at the current pace that we're at, no, we all need to be moving forward, and it should be moving at an incremental pace, and maybe even a tiered pace, because there are a lot of different categories of workers that we have, some straight out of college, and so we want to look at really diving much deeper than what we've done in terms of how it is we're addressing a minimum wage. But in terms of the county, you know, I think that this is an oversight of the union that we need to get through. It's a big issue. We already, and there's inequities in that system. You know, there are some clerks who are making the $10 wage, and then there are other agencies or other departments where the amount is very high. We know that there are some in public safety, that were making in excess of $170,000, and that is because of the actual premiums that we have to work with.
All right, thanks so much, candidate Chalk.
Mahalo.
Oh, lots of yellow cards. We'll go down the line. So, candidate Apollo, 30 seconds to respond.
Thank you. This is Juno. I would like to piggyback on that comment in terms of how the unions have set forth the precedents for how our wages in non-government positions are set. Our 40-hour weekdays, our benefits, and everything that starts there. But that also presents the issue of how our unions are working now for our younger people. Does it work and does it not? Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidate. Who had the next yellow card? Candidate Hooser?
Yes, I enthusiastically support the $15 minimum wage. The county should set the example. There's no reason why county employees should not make at least $15 an hour. There's no excuse that county vendors, people that do work for the county can mandate $15 an hour. Our county can set the example for the rest of the state. And there's counties and cities all over the nation who have independently instituted $15 minimum wage, and our county should take a lead on this issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidate. Candidate Kaneshiro?
Yeah, as far as minimum wage goes, you know, I believe we're moving in the right direction. The state did mandate a raise from $7.25 to $10.10 in 2018. I realize wages barely cover the cost of living, but I also believe the solution may not only lie in actual wage. The solution could be employers paying their greater share of health benefits. Some of our county and state workers pay upwards of 30% of their paycheck to health benefits. So that is an area that it might that we might be able to attack to,
All right, thank you, candidate. The next yellow card. Is there anybody else on that end? So, candidate Kuali'i.
Yeah, just to add to what's already been said, I actually proposed and got passed the resolution in October of last year supporting economic justice for Hawaii's working families. It covered minimum wage, paid sick leave, paid family and medical leave, and the right to organize. 1010 in 2018 is still far away from $15 an hour. We should align with the Fight for 15 national movement. Here in Hawaii, we need it more than the rest of the nation. The cost of the living is highest here.
All right, thank you, candidate. And candidate Bernabe, or was anybody else on that end? Okay, well, I'll do candidate Bernabe and then go back to Yukimura.
Hello, Matt Bernabe. Yes, as far as county workers go, I would like to know what position starts at minimum wage. I'm led to believe they make more than minimum wage. And if this was in the private sector, I would say the county needs to run more efficient, more cost effective so that we can lower the cost on ourselves so that we don't have to tax the businesses or the citizens. Therefore, the businesses could give a raise to their workers and the citizens would be able to save a little bit more money off the top. And then we would have a better world on Kauai.
Thank you, candidate. And so, candidate Yukimura.
Yes, I want to say something for small businesses because they came and spoke up and said, you think these large corporations, of course they can give $15 an hour, but the proposal initially was $7 to $15 in 1 year. And the small businesses said, we can't handle that. And so we have to think about them as well and distinguish between large corporations and small and medium-sized corporations.
Thank you, candidates. All right, we're going to be moving on to candidate Norma Dr. Sparks.
Social issues.
And the question is, Kauai no longer has a Planned Parenthood services. Do we need local action to ensure that all women have full reproductive rights and access to health care?
Norma Dr. Sparks, I spent most of my career working with children and their families and working with women. And I do believe that we do need to have those kinds of services here on the island so that everyone will benefit from those services. I do know that there are some difficulties with funding some of these services, but I do think that a private-public partnership can help to create those services here, not just for women, but for women, children, and perhaps even for men. I know that medical needs are not being met adequately right now because of the high cost of insurance, even with Obamacare. And I do think, though, that we should, as a community, provide that service so that our families, women, children, and men, can receive the services that is best for them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidate. So we're going on to candidate Fukushima. What would be your topic?
Environment. Don't give me a hard question, huh?
All right. So your question on environment, what should the council do in regards to community concerns over pesticide use?
Pesticide use. This includes substances that will kill weeds, called herbicides, insects, insecticides, fungus, fungicide, rodents, rodenticide, and others. The use of toxin pesticides to manage pest problems has become a common practice around the world. I believe in using whatever is necessary for agriculture. We import about 80 to 90% of our produce. We need to eat local and fresh. We pay a lot for shipping our food from outside of home.
All right, thank you, candidate.
Next candidate, Gary Hooser, your
social?
topic.
Social?
There's a strong perception of a revolving door in county government and appointment. What would you do to address this?
Door for appointments. Right now, laws and ethics requirements that require at least 1 year to pass. I think we need to tighten those up in terms of when you leave county government and you go into the private sector and you come back. I think we need to do that. This past legislative session, I did introduce a related bill to regulate lobbying, to require lobbyists to register and to tell us how much money they spend. Oftentimes lobbyists are part of that revolving door. And for whatever reason, Kauai did not have one. The Constitution of the state of Hawaii requires every county to have a lobbyist bill or ordinance. And so I introduced it, and I believe today we have the best lobbying regulation bill of any county in the state of Hawaii. It could have been better. It could have been better. It had provisions to ban lobbyists from sitting on boards and commissions. I was not able to get that through the county council. It had provisions banning all gifts from lobbyists to council members. I could not get that through. But in spite of those two efforts, we still have, in many ways, the best regulation of lobbyists, which involves the revolving door aspect as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidate. So, candidate Kaneshiro, your topic, please.
Social issues.
Right, your question is, what is the status of affordable housing on Kauai, and what more needs to be done in this area?
Kaneshiro, affordable housing. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious we're in a housing crisis. Shortage is on moderate income to low income housing. We also are in need of entry-level housing for young couples, maybe Juno, entry-level housing. Families to begin building their equity. Housing prices are so high right now, there's just no availability for people to be able to afford those entry-level type housing. As far as the council goes, we can't force affordable housing, we can't force people to build it. All we can do is try and loosen any restrictions that's preventing people from being able to build these, loosen the grip on regulations. And one of those things that I currently proposed was allowing multifamily dwelling units to be built in all residential zones. In the past, you couldn't do it. It's going through, I think it passed Planning Commission right now, but for that, having a prohibition on multifamily units means that owners can't take advantage of cost synergies. They can't, they would have to build two separate houses rather than being able to build one house with 2 units attached. So you'd save on roof, you'd save on water infrastructure, you'd save on a lot of things. And then as far as the county goes, we worked hard to support our housing department. Housing department has done a lot, and there's a lot of projects that they've done through private-public partnerships. Kaniko Phase 1, 60 units. Kaniko Phase 2, 30 units. Kolopua, 44 units in Princeville. Kauai is a new one that's coming up in Koloa, 134 units.
Mahalo, candidate.
Next candidate. Candidate Kawakami, your topic area?
Let's give self-reliance and infrastructure a try.
What can the county do to improve maintenance and conditions of our public bathrooms and other facilities?
Oh, rats. Hey, for everybody tuning in at KKCR, aloha, thank you for being with us. My name is Derek Kawakami, and thank you so much for the tough question. It's sad to say that a lot of our challenges with restrooms and cleanliness is due to high levels of vandalism. And I really think that we got to start at a school age level to bring some of that pride back into our community. Now, I got to travel with my 12-year-old daughter as she performed on the mainland. And one thing that was indicative is on these mainland schools, they have tremendous amounts of school spirit. And if you're wondering what the importance of school spirit is when you raise your kids to be proud of something, to take ownership of their community. They'll turn out to be adults that they'll take pride in their communities, that are less likely to do horrendous acts of vandalism. And I think it starts there with basic values, teaching our kids what's right, having that resonate into adulthood. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we can do, thinking outside of the box, rather than just sending more staff to go clean up a mess that some individuals have left. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidate. So candidate Kuali'i, your topic, please.
From social issues.
All right, your question is, what measures can the council take to preserve and reclaim public access to shoreline and mountains?
So we have, public access laws in place already. We just need to strengthen them. We need to restore some of the accesses that have been lost. There's historical records, obviously, that show where these accesses are. I actually have been working with planning on trying to work on an amendment that would do our open space law in a way that might give priority, if the council would support, to go after lands with cultural practices, including taro lands and fish ponds and sustainable farming and restoring streams. There's so much we have to do with our environment, and funding is limited, so we need to find willing and supportive landowners that could give us discounts, if you will, be a part of the change that's needed in the protection of our lands, our open space, and our public access. Public access is critical because hunting, fishing, food.
Mahalo. Candidate Yukimura, your
Yes.
topic area?
Self-reliance, infrastructure.
What are your thoughts on ways to increase the income base for Kauai?
Income base means we need to generate businesses. We need to have income coming in. And I think we do that by diversifying our economy so that we have a stronger economic base. And the ways we can do that, one of the great ways to bring in income is the film industry, which I created the film commission, the Kauai County Film Commission, and the first film that we brought in was Jurassic Park. And when that comes in, the kinds of jobs that are created are many, and we also got good publicity from it. But more long-term, agriculture also, and Kauai products, and then zero waste is a way to create new industries on Kauai by import substitution, which are ways where we create our own products instead of sending money outside to buy products. For example, there's now a way to create sand from glass to finally grind it down. And we import sand from China for our golf courses. If we could produce it here from our waste, we would create a lot of value.
Okay, thank you so much, candidates. So we're going to start our second round. And just to let you know, I think our social issues box is getting a little low. So if you want to mix it up, go right on ahead. And we are going to begin again with candidate Apala.
Sure, let's go with, did you say social issues was low?
There's still questions. I'm just throwing it out there. You can switch it up with the topics.
Sure, let's go with self-reliance again and infrastructure.
All right, candidate Apala, your question is, how might the county ensure the delivery of water to residents during times of emergency? Extremely important.
Extremely important, that is true. And water is, like what Councilmember Mason Chalk described earlier, was that it's very precious and important to us. And regardless if we are in the middle of the ocean, there is a shortage or a limited amount of drinkable water here on Kauai for each of our residents. And how do we ensure it in terms of emergencies? What I've learned from school and what I've learned through survival courses is that we equipped each of our individual residents with technology that actually changes undrinkable water into drinkable water. And these sports people use it. People who are nature oriented, they take it to their hunting, they take it to their camping grounds, and they are able to provide drinkable water with them from the streams that exists in our Aina, in our land. And so that's what I would propose, is equipping our residents with those tools and teaching them how to survive with our natural resources.
Mahalo. Candidate Bernabe, topic?
I'll go with environment.
Should Kauai have a climate action plan, and how can adequate funding be ensured?
Climate action plan. I believe that our climate is changing. I believe we should be prepared as well. We are in the middle of the ocean and it is rising. I just saw a report that it was the highest the sea's been in since recording. And what that will entail will take all of us and some of the experts, but we have a lot of our future plans, you know, in Lihue, but we should be moving them to other places, but we still have plans for Kapa. And, you know, I'm not quite sure. We should have a plan, absolutely. I mean, I keep getting these hard questions, but I mean, I don't disagree with that, so I don't know what to say because it's not controversial. I think that's an automatic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Candidate Bernabe. Candidate Chalk, your topic, please.
Let's go with solid waste.
Thank you so much. So, Candidate Chalk, what is your position on residential curbside recycling collection and the construction of a county-owned materials recovery facility?
Yeah, another no-brainer question. We need our MRF, and we need it now. It's overdue. We should be investing in the things that we know will work for us, and this is one that needs to work for us. Curbside recycling, absolutely, we're set up for it. It's part of our solid waste plan. Why aren't we moving forward on it? I support the curbside recycling full-heartedly. I support the food waste, moving in and taking care of our food waste as well with compostable, composting it, using it for renewable energy. I think that you know, we're looking at things like waste to energy, but the truth is that, you know, we've already looked at some of these things in the past. They haven't worked for us in Hawaii and other jurisdictions. And it hasn't been proven to me that it will work or that we have the capacity to use some of this. So let's stick to what we know and what we can do now because our environment requires it.
Mahalo. Yellow card. Go right ahead.
Matt Bernabe for the record. I've actually been going and contacting our employees and getting the word from them. And I've seen the evidence that we're not following the plan that we have now. One of the things is vertical space out at the landfill. And I've seen the evidence that we are not breaking down skips. We are taking commercial loads that could be resold. I've seen loads of hangers that were a complete matching truck just dropped off. There is so many things out there that they're not doing currently. That's why we need a qualified department head.
Mahalo.
Thank you so much, candidates. So, Candidate Dr. Sparks, your topic, please.
Social issues.
Social issues.
Sorry, social issues.
No, I got it. Thanks. So your question is, what is the county doing to support drug rehabilitation programs on the island, and what other action would you support?
I'm thrilled to answer this question because my husband Steve and I completed the feasibility study for the adolescent treatment facility a couple of years ago. I've also had a lot of experience in a number of jurisdictions about looking at substance abuse issues as well. I do think that this county needs to pay attention. We have a number of adolescents who require services, but we also don't have enough dollars to pay for those services. We also have, what we found in our study, is that the greatest group of people that seemed to need the services the most were those who were 18 to 21 years old, many of whom were in the Kauai jails. So I do believe that we do need to have those services, and we need to pay attention to it very quickly. We know that there is a problem here, and I do know that, as you know, that whenever there is a substance abuse issue, that it affects the whole family, the extended as well as the nucleus family. And so in order to keep our whole family on this island healthy, we really do need to address those issues. Thank you.
We have a yellow card.
Solid waste.
Say your name and go ahead. Yes.
Yellow card, sorry.
Kipukai.
Yeah, I think that the county needs to be applauded for finally moving on this. We have the Adolescent Treatment and Healing Center coming up. There is the environmental review that just happened. The 30-day public review period is happening. We also need to thank Grow Farm for the land gift. Land is so expensive. I did go with the team to visit a couple of centers on Oahu. This is very important for our kids.
Mahalo. Is there another yellow card? Okay, then moving on. There is?
Candidate Yukimura.
Yes. Well, you know, the great need between 18 and 21 years, they're not going to be served by the Adolescent Drug Treatment Center. And we still don't know how we're going to sustain the center. We're going to pay $5 million to build it. We don't have the money to really, and actually Norma's doctor's study showed that it's going to be very hard to sustain. 2 centers have closed on neighbor islands.
All right, thank you, candidates. So our next candidate, Fukushima, your topic, please.
Solid waste.
Solid waste. Thank you. Your question is, what do you recycle, reuse, repair, or refuse? So what do you recycle, reuse, repair, or refuse?
Can you repeat the question? It's
So-
very confusing. I don't know what you're saying.
So recycle, reuse, repair, or refuse?
What I want to
Can
do,
I-
recycle? Let me read the question.
We'll hand him the question. Yeah. It's okay. It's
How would I do this? I don't do this. I just use the rubbish dump. What do you recycle, reuse, repair, or refuse? I recycle myself. Repair, well, repairs is only, I don't know, this is a very hard, difficult question. Get too many R's. Recycle, reuse, repair, and refuse. What is that? Huh? Rubbish? We have all the recycle, curbside recycling, food waste, material recovery facilities. We call it MRF. Having a MRF seems to be a good idea. Again, we landfill and recyclable materials from overflowing and have an income-producing facility. We also can change waste to energy. If we have the funds and means available for converting waste material to energy, I'm all for it. Foreign countries have been doing so for years. It would be a good idea if it is feasible. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, candidate.
Gary, who's
I'll
your
try
next
social.
topic?
Is there anything left in social?
And it all goes back into the box. So actually, if there was a question that you missed or you don't have another card, maybe you'll pull it again. So that's the last one for social issues.
How is the county addressing homelessness, and what further action would you propose?
Okay, this is one of the questions I wanted. It's all about housing first. housing first. If you look at study homeless issues, houseless issues, you'll see a variety of people. A large number of those people are actually working, but they can't find a place to live, and they're working 2 jobs. Another large segment might have mental illness issues or alcohol, substance abuse issues. We need to find and put a roof over these people's heads. So it's housing, housing, housing. That should be our #1 priority. There should be a war on housing. And I differ with some of my colleagues who say we can't make people do it. We can. We can tell developers and landowners, if you want to develop your property, you have to develop to these standards. We can do that. We could say we can increase density. We can increase density and say, we will let you build twice as many units on that lot, but you have to build to the local market. We have to have the political will to make this happen. And in my opinion, the Lihue, Puhi, Honolulu area is a place where most of the growth should occur at this point, because that growth does not impact the traffic. It doesn't have to impact the traffic. There are sewers there. It's a walkable community. There's job centers there. We have a bill on the table today that would allow this to happen to a large extent, potentially large extent. I encourage you to call us and support that measure. It's an ARU bill you heard about earlier. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Candidate Hooser. And sorry, a yellow card? Okay, go ahead, Candidate Sparks.
I'd like to add to that. When I was in Los Angeles County, which has a huge homeless population, I worked with the police, with poverty programs, with housing programs, to initially work with families with children and veterans, and that the 3 different groups were able to work together so that these people would get the holistic services they needed. It's true, housing first, but we need to follow that up with other services, and to have all of those different services work together is really the best way that we found worked best.
All right, thank you, Candidate. And sorry, I was corrected. So all boxes need to be empty before you can start pulling from the box again. So social issues is all used up. So their next topic, let's see, it's Candidate Kaneshiro.
I'll take self-reliance and infrastructure.
Okay. All right, your question is, will you address traffic congestion concerns? Would capping the number of rental cars allowed on the island be a viable option?
Oh, tough question. I know we've been looking at how we can deal with rental cars. I know we've talked about maybe increasing the fees on rental cars. Legally, I don't know if we can do it, but I do think one option is having the rental cars do pay their fair share. You know, I've heard of instances where a rental car on Oahu will pay their Oahu fees. Then during high peak times, they'll ship the car here, and then they're just paying their fuel tax. In those type of instances, we're getting the increased traffic, but we're not getting their vehicle registration and other fees that we should. So I think that is one way we can look at addressing rental cars. And then again, I mean, the money that comes from that goes to our roads, and we desperately need money for our roads. So.
Thank you, Candidate.
Candidate Kawakami, your area?
I'll try self-reliance in infrastructure as well.
Do you support expansion on the bus system? And in what specific ways, what funding sources would you use?
You know, that's a great question. And once again, Derek Kawakami, and I want to thank the audience for being so gracious and very nice to us. It's amazing. I would fully support expanding our bus system. I think right now we are enjoying the luxury of relatively cheap gas, but that's going to be temporary. And I can tell you when gas prices go back up, we're going to see a tremendous increase in ridership. When I was working with Menehune Food Mart, we reached out to the county and told them it makes absolutely no sense for somebody in Kilauea or Kekaha or Lauai or Kapahi to have to go to Lihue to buy a monthly bus pass. I said, we would love to be your vendor. We won't make a dime. We won't make a dime off of these bus passes that we want to sell. We just want to offer it as a service to the county. And I can tell you, we tracked how much bus passes we sold, and it was outstanding. Every month, we've seen an increase in ridership. I think moving forward, we're going to have to focus our development in the urban core. It's going to look a lot different. It's going to operate a lot differently. We're going to create more walkable, bikeable, multimodal communities of transportation, and I think expanding the bus system is a piece of the puzzle to reducing traffic. I think our funding source will always be reliant on some sort of taxation. No form of public transportation will ever be self-reliant. Mahalo.
All right, thank you, candidate. So candidate Kuali'i, your topic, please.
We'll try self-reliance in infrastructure as well.
All right, your question is, Hawaii County has taken significant steps to support local food production. What is Kauai presently doing, or what actions can the County Council take to promote local food production?
So, yeah, supporting local food production is an important part of diversifying and strengthening our economy. I support the project that's happening at KCC, a food certified kitchen, and I support certified kitchens all over the island. Funding towards our slaughterhouses to make sure we can have local beef processed here. Supporting food also means supporting agriculture, so I support what we can to make lands available and to make access to water available for the local growing of food. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you so much, candidate. Oh, sure, go for it.
Thank you, and I'm in total agreement. I want to remind people that when I was on the county council, one of the first things I did was allow vendors that operate at our sunshine markets to be able to sell value-added products, because that's where the profit is. They can turn strawberries into strawberry jam. They can sell honey, and it allows people like Louisa Wooten from Kunana Dairy to be able to sell her product in our sunshine markets. I think by supporting farmers in that sense, it only supports their operation and brings more farm food to our tables. Mahalo.
Great, thanks so much for the response.
And the next candidate, Joan Yukimura.
Solid waste, please.
The County Council has adopted a zero waste policy. What action do you think this should translate into?
Well, first and foremost, it should translate into the building of a MRF, without which we cannot have curbside recycling. So the MRF is a materials recovery facility. And I'm sorry to report that I introduced an amendment to include in this past budget $400,000 so that we could complete the MRF. And that was voted against by the majority of the council. And on the other hand, the council has been funding the process for a waste-to-energy possibility through an RFP process. And we're really deviating from our goal in our integrated solid waste management plan to divert things from the landfill and recycle, reuse, and reduce, which would create many, many jobs and small industries, and would support the economy as well as move us toward a zero waste economy that will be sustainable and will help the environment tremendously.
All right, then, thank you, candidate Yukimura. And so now to switch things up a bit and get a little crazy here, we're going to start with you again, and we're just going to come and work our way back this way. That way we can make it that much more lively again. Because candidates and forums are fun, so we're going to do this. All right, so candidate Yukimura, if you know what other topic you would like for your next question. And this is the third round, everybody, so your yellow cards are still worth 30 seconds. You can use them to respond to somebody or respond to their question, or you can just save it for your last 30 seconds on the stage for your closing remarks.
I'll try environment.
All right. Your question is, what do you see as environmental concerns for Kauai, and how should they be addressed?
There are many environmental concerns for Kauai, and actually zero waste is one of them. Pesticides is another. Runoff from things like the dairy into our oceans is a very big one. Global warming and the kind of impacts that are created from our transportation system is another one. If we were to follow our multimodal plan, we can reduce greenhouse gases by 27% over the next 20 years, which is a really good national benchmark that people have been saying. And so not only do you reduce congestion and serve people who need affordable transportation, as Representative Kaukami talked about, but you also help the environment by shifting the mode more and more from single occupancy vehicles to not only the bus, but also to walking and biking. You'd be interested to know that if we follow our multimodal land transportation plan, we will increase bus ridership by 1,000% over the next 20 years, from 1,600 trips per day that are now on the bus to 1,600 per week to 18,000 trips per week. And that's a good goal to go for.
Mahalo. And Candidate Kuali'i?
Can I, so is this the last of the 3 questions?
This is the last round,
And there'll
yes.
be 90 seconds?
Yes, so you'll have 90 seconds to respond. If you have any yellow cards left, you can...
We only had 2, right?
You only had 2. You only had 2.
I got 2 more now, though. No.
You recycled them.
Will we have a chance? Will there be closing remarks or no? No. So this is my last time to speak for 90 seconds. Thank you.
Which topic area?
Can I just pick my question? No.
No.
I'll go.
Nice try.
Social issues.
No social issues left. We do have...
What do you have left?
One
We have
more,
environment.
self-reliance,
Okay.
infrastructure, solid waste, and environment.
Ask me the question from self-reliance and infrastructure on water system.
Nice try.
I've been checking them off.
What are Kauai's greatest opportunities for an economy that is both equitable and diverse, and what steps would you take to support these economic pathways?
Equitable and diverse economic pathways. You talking about diversifying our economy? I think we have to do everything we can, but we have to do it in a way that sustains our local lifestyle and our environment. Tourism is an important industry for us, the leading industry, but it's not the only industry. We have to take care of ourselves with food. We have to grow a lot more food, especially if the ships stop coming. 80% reliance on outside is not good for our interests in the future. Lots of land is sitting open and fallow. We need to figure out all kinds of agriculture, big, medium, small, food, and not only food, other crops as well. Land and water remains the most important ways that we need to support agriculture. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Candidate Kuali'i. So, Candidate Kawakami, environment or solid waste?
Just a point of clarification. If I got a yellow card, I can make some closing remarks after all of this is done.
Yes.
Correct? All righty.
Yes.
I will take environment.
Your question is, environmentally friendly tourism has large appeal. How can Kauai better meet the standards and expectations of green destination?
Oh, I think we're doing a tremendous job. There's so much wonderful ecotourism going on in Kauai. I think one thing, and once again, to anybody tuning in at KKCR 90.9, 91.9 on the North Shore, this is Derek Kawakami at your service. We're doing a fabulous job. I think what we need to take a look at, and one of the last things I did as a sitting council member before I went off to that big square building, is I was working on legislation to allow for some sort of ag tourism for bona fide farmers. People that are reliant on providing food for our communities should have the ability to do farm tours. to help subsidize their farming operation. It's required by state law. It's required by state law that counties enact ordinances that address ag tourism. I voted no on vacation rentals on agricultural land, and I made that very clear, that I think that would be detrimental to food production. But I think if you take a look at what's going on in Napa Valley with wine tours and vineyard tours, there's so much opportunity to tap into this sector and further our destination and our marketing as a green destination and a place for ecotourism. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, candidate.
Candidate Kaneshiro, your choice of solid waste or environment?
I'll try solid waste.
What is your understanding of waste-to-energy incineration for Kauai, and where do you stand on the issue?
Waste-to-energy incineration, I believe Oahu's doing it now, but I think the problem with Kauai and what we do with our trash is we don't have the economy of scale to make a system like an incineration work. I think Oahu doesn't even have enough trash to make theirs work. So for us, we're very limited. I mean, we're a small island, our population is low, but our costs are high because we have to spread our services throughout the whole island. When it does come to waste to energy, I want to say that we do have an RFP out, and the RFP is not specific to waste to energy. It's not specific to a MRF. It's open to any technology. We're pretty much saying, please provide an RFP for any technology that might work on Kauai. And I'm hoping in the world there's a technology that can be scaled down to the size of our island that will work for us. Our landfill does have a life on it, and we're basically saying we're open to anything, but it has to work financially also. We can't go on and just keep dumping money into a solid waste. We need something that's viable and can last.
Mahalo. All right, thank you, candidate. So candidate Hooser, your topic, environment or solid waste?
Environment, please.
Your question is, what practices and policies can the county adopt to lower our greenhouse gases?
When I first started out in politics, if you would, was on environmental issues, land use issues. There's an issue called Makaleha Springs in Kapahi, when the state wanted to tap into a natural spring and develop it for water when they weren't even sure if there was enough water there. And we fought really hard for that, and we won. And there's people in the room that were part of that. And I've been involved in many, many battles over the years and won many battles. Governor Abercrombie appointed me to be the director of the Office of Environmental Quality Control. I think the people of Kauai have elected me repeatedly because of my commitment to the environment. And climate change is the #1 issue that we have to fight and confront and deal with in our community. There is no question about that. And someone argued this is a small island, it's just a little spit in the wind, we don't have much impact on gases. But we have to do our share, and we have to set an example for the rest of the world. County government can start there. County government can put in policies to require people when they travel, talk about a travel budget, to use electric cars, period. The county could set the example, and we're already doing some great work in that area to reduce our own consumption of fossil fuels, and we can do much more, and I'm committed to doing that. Thank you.
Candidate Fukushima, your area between solid waste or environment?
Solid waste or solid waste?
Or environment, okay.
Environment. I'll take environment.
Oh, okay. If the state and federal agencies are not adequately addressing their responsibilities to monitor our environmental health and well-being, how should the county respond?
Okay, I would say we don't need the overprotection of laws. I believe that the state and federal laws are sufficient. We should not duplicate and waste funding unnecessarily. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Thank you, candidate. So candidate Dr. Sparks, you
Solid
have-
waste.
Yes, I think one last question. Oh, one last. Okay, one last question in solid waste, and then we can actually reset the boxes. So what is your position on banning all styrofoam food containers on Kauai?
I don't think this is this is a no-brainer too. I think that we need to ban styrofoam, anything made out of styrofoam. And I know that for us, it was very difficult to move from styrofoam food containers to the paper ones. But I do think that it is important, first of all, to reduce the solid waste that's in the landfills, because as we know, styrofoam has, eons and eons of life. But also because we also want to ensure that whatever we do on this island, for all the things that we've talked about in terms of the environment, in terms of our well-being, and in terms of our self-reliance and our infrastructure, that we do need to take a role and take responsibility. And a very small way to take responsibility is to use non-styrofoam products. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Great. Candidate Chalk, your topic, please. And now all the boxes are open again.
Okay, I'll take self-reliance and infrastructure.
Your question is, what are Kauai's greatest opportunities for an economy that is both equitable and diverse, and what steps would you take to support these economic pathways?
Thank you. Our economy needs to be diversified. We need to diversify in every single area, and that goes to agriculture, it goes to building entrepreneurs, and I'm a huge advocate of educating our education, and I think that we need to work closely with our KCC, the leaders that are here, in order to diversify that. I just want to kind of move in a direction of what I think is we need to do, especially on what I've been doing in the last year and a half, was trying to address how we're going to diversify some of that, because I think our island needs models. And so I've been working with local farmers to obtain land so that they can actually create these models. And so it's a hybrid of creating, building the next generation of farmers. It's about educating them and showing them that it's possible for local food production. It's about showing them that they can become entrepreneurs and drive their own businesses for the future. But we need to start, and we need to open the doors in order for that to occur. And we need to do it now, because we are way behind in being able to use our lands properly. We have the most ADC lands in the state, and they are not being utilized, not the way we can or should be. And so, along with those things are the need for us to empower the community to become more self-directed. And
Mahalo. Candidate Bernabe, you have a choice of any of the topic areas.
Well, I'll go with solid waste again.
What is your position on banning all styrofoam food containers on Kauai?
Oh, this is a good one. I'm actually happy. This is one of the 3 questions I like. I am completely for it. And I'll tell you the evidence for this. Kilauea, as a community, has all its businesses using recyclable containers. Pono Market, which is one of my favorite restaurants, along with Fish Express, but Pono Market, they are using containers that are biodegradable currently. And it hasn't broken the wallets of the people that go there. And it hasn't broken the wallets of the county. And it's something that solid waste won't even be part of. So this is an area that we can improve at the landfills, and they're not even part of it. This is all in the private sector and the customers. And so I'm for it. And the technology's out there, and it's ready. We need to go that way. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Candidate Paula, you have the last question. Any topic?
Sure, and I want to remind everybody that it takes more muscles to frown than to smile. I'm once again going to ask for self-reliance and infrastructure.
Your question is, what are your thoughts on ways to increase the income base for Kauai?
Can you please repeat the question?
What are your thoughts on ways to increase the income base for Kauai?
That's a great question because I'm coming from a generation that has to work with an economic environment where we are bounded by our student loans that are astronomically higher compared to the generations before us. And the opportunities presented to us are limited because of some of the structures I think that we've over-created for our next generation. I'm proud to say that my campaign ran on entrepreneurship. We literally started with $0, no cash in hand. And with the collaboration and innovation of not just technology, but also honoring our kupunas and doing the walking, this part of the protocol, I've learned that the majority of the job we do here in the county council level and in the campaigning process is similar. You're building community and you're building your habit for how you spend your money. I only need you to look at those information, and it's recently published in the Garden Island newspaper, of how your candidates have spent the monies that they've solicited from you. The entrepreneurship spirit and creating this global scape for our future generation is in allowing them to do it. That's in our infrastructure. That's in creating the spaces where they can work, because some of us work without an office space, and we are creating our own income based on isolation.
And I want to say that also, I serve as a reasonable voice, I think, on the council. I'm willing to speak the truth, but I'm also doing it with a lot of aloha and inclusiveness. I am about collaborating with people, and I think that political antics is definitely not on my plate. It's not how I work. I'm interested in doing the work that this county needs, and I'm also proud to say that I think thank you. Vote for me.
It was a fast 30 seconds, so thank you to you all for your patience with that. So, Candidate Sparks.
Thank you. I'm running for the very first time for political office. And I'm running because I continue to be concerned about Kauai. I want to help to make the county services more efficient, more cost-effective, and transparent. I will bring a fresh perspective to the work, and that I want to also know that I will be informed as a small business owner, as a mother of 2 sons, and I look forward to helping the county in the future. My name is Norma Dr. Sparks, and I humbly ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Anyone else with a yellow card? 30 seconds. Candidate Fukushima?
Thank you. I am again the new face. My last name is Fukushima, not Richard, not Jesse. Thank you for your votes, and God bless you all.
All right, Candidate Hooser.
Hello. Again, my name is Gary Hooser. It's been an honor and privilege to serve my home, serve you these last years as senator and on the council, and to live and be part of this community. You know who I am. There's no hiding who Gary Hooser is. My track record is there. You know where I stand on issues, and I'm there to serve you. I need your vote. If you want me to continue to serve you, I need you to vote for me. Please go to GaryHooser.com, call me, ask any questions at all, but I need your vote. Aloha.
All right. Thank you, Candidate. Candidate Kaneshiro, your closing remarks.
Okay, what have I learned my first year being on council? I learned that any decision we make, there's going to be some people that are not very happy with us. I learned that when I make a decision, I have to do my homework, be logical, state why I'm making the decision, whether people like it or not, and make the decision. Second, where's my accountability come from? My accountability comes from my family, my friends, my community, teachers, coaches. That's where my accountability comes from. So if you have any questions about me, feel free to ask.
Thank you, candidate. Are there any more yellow cards? So, Candidate Kawakami.
I want to really sincerely thank all of the organizers for doing this. I had an absolutely great time with all of you. Thank you so much. For everybody that stuck around to hear our message, thank you. Time is so precious, and just the fact that you're spending a part of your day with us just fills me up with love and joy. Hey, I hope that I've earned your vote over the years, and if I didn't, I'm asking for your vote so I can continue to try and earn that vote. So Derek Kawakami, thank you so much. God bless and aloha.
Mahalo. Juno? So candidate Apala, I think she has her last yellow card.
I do. Aloha, everybody. Thank you for gathering the community here tonight and for broadcasting us to those who couldn't make it this evening. Thank you for our council members and our candidates who are running for this public servitude position. And I urge each and every one of you to look very carefully at your team. This is a 7-seat. You need to look at who you think best fits to create a whole that can maintain the integrity of your county. And I hope that one of those votes are for me. So thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Okay. So mahalo again to. Oh, do you have a yellow card? Oh no, I don't. Yeah, yellow card. Sorry. So, okay, but I just want to remind you could, if someone has an extra and you feel a lot of aloha. Well, how are we doing on time, our timekeepers? We're okay? Okay, so if you check out everybody's websites in the program. So mahalo again, a round of applause for all the candidates. Thank you for being here. So reminding everybody, there is early voting happening right now. This is, I believe, the first, correct me anybody if it's the first election year that we can register to vote and vote in person on the same day. So that started this past Monday, August 1st. It goes through next week, Thursday, August 11th. So go ahead and grab up anybody who hasn't voted or hasn't registered to vote even, and bring them to the polls at the Lihui Neighborhood Center Monday through Friday. Okay. Oh, and they can register here, I've been told. Is at the. A reminder to everybody, there are no trash cans inside the cafeteria. Please.
Bamboo Moon Video has been producing quality videos for Kauai and beyond since 1995.
So simply, we are celebrating life in its splendid form of aloha.
Bamboo Moon Video. Call us 808-634-6597.